All right, we're live, but I'm
Wow.
going to be doing some housekeeping to make sure people are coming to the right stream. So I'm going to edit the Telegram post to have the right link.
Well, that was fun. That was a boomer tech moment.
Is the bitrate good? Is the bitrate fine?
All right?
Are we coming in potato quality again? No, let's see what it looks good.
Yeah. All
Yo,
right.
we look so good. Oh my god. Holy shit. All right, we're so fucking back.
We're back.
All right. You know what? No more intro songs. Let's just get right into it.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah. We're coming in through good. We have Rub the Third Eye. That's better. 5x5. Oh, thank God. Poke it with a stick.
Let's go.
Kick it until it works. That's what we did.
Yep.
We got into like physical violence with each other over these.
We
technical
literally just restarted the whole system like a boomer.
Yeah.
It's the only way. The
All
boomers
right.
had it figured out all along, the whole time.
Okay, so why don't we start off, Shane? How did your day go today? You want to give
It was
us
great.
like a rundown?
I want to thank everybody for their support, all the bigots that donated to my campaign and came out to the trial to show support. It means a lot. So yeah, 07s to all of you. And yeah, I mean, I guess obviously you've seen the Prime Minister squash the subpoena, so there wasn't much really. There wasn't much of a case moving forward. I had kind of already made some statements prior to that, and let's face it, I'm just not a dishonest person. All right, I'm not gonna lie about it. But I probably shouldn't make a whole lot of statements about the particulars until the sentencing is done. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun day. So yeah,
Sweet. Yeah. Well, we had a good time.
Yep.
We all showed up. Many people showed up, even from different cities. We had Lee Stewie, we had Colbert's mom, we had Bob Lee Swagger.
definitely.
We had some people from London, Slick Patch. It was awesome. We had a lot of good moral support in court, and yeah, we learned a little bit about the legal. Yeah, Rance came out.
Yeah,
he drove up.
Got to show up for the boys.
Exactly,
So true.
exactly. And I do want to share something. I have Shane's Give, Send, Go because he still does owe his lawyer like quite a bit of money. So
It is true. I owe my lawyer like 10 grand.
yeah, so I'm just gonna drop that in the YouTube chat in case any of you guys want to help him out.
And
with
that wasn't the issue moving forward. It was just there was no legal path really moving forward with the statements that I had made, with not being able to call the Prime Minister to the stand. There was nothing really I could do.
It really is weird because how do you have a victim of an assault if the victim at first didn't even know that they were a victim of it? Like, that seems like a very non-consequential supposed assault, at least in my point of view. Like, we literally have kids throwing rocks at each other on playgrounds, picking up little gravel, little dust, and whipping at each other.
Yep.
Are we going to bring in the feds and start arresting all these little kids? Hands in the air! Put your fucking head to the ground. Just like guns to their heads. Like, this is what this country is coming to, man. It's crazy.
It's wild. Madness.
So,
yeah, what are we getting into first?
well, I'm interested in kind of the legalese that was going on in there.
Yeah, there was some boomer waffin lady that shouted out.
Yes,
I disavow the boomer waffin lady.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
As lovely and sweet as she was, she came up to me like as I was sitting down in the courtroom. This like QAnon lady came. I don't even want to defame her. She was a sweet old lady.
Yeah,
sweet lady.
She had a valid point too.
For sure.
That the defense should have a right to a fair trial and to cross-examine.
Yeah.
But you know, I think a lot of people in the movement often mean well, but sometimes don't know how to go about things in the most optical way, and it sort of hurts things sometimes. But not the place.
Okay,
to do that.
so just for context, when we were in the courtroom, there was some older woman who brought her own like binder full of her own legalese, And I figure she has the same kind of mentality that one of these sovereign citizen type people has, where they feel like they know the law better than the courtroom and all the lawyers and the judges. And they think somehow their opinion matters when they yell it out. And it really doesn't, because it just gets on everybody's nerves.
Yeah.
And she came there expecting to see Justin Trudeau. She thought that Justin Trudeau was going to show up there and she was going to be able to cross-examine him, which is insane because she thinks she knows so much about law, but she didn't even know that he wasn't going to be there. Obviously, he's not going to fucking show up. And the fact is that he has parliamentary privilege. He has privilege. You know, they talk about white privilege.
Yeah.
They talk about all this bullshit. What about parliamentary privilege? The privilege to do whatever the fuck you want, to be able to spread hate against whoever you want. That's parliamentary privilege. The privilege to just disregard Chinese infiltration into your party. That's parliamentary privilege, if I've ever seen some.
Definitely.
Right? Were people saying in the chat?
Yeah, what's going on in the chat?
Have they forgiven us for our boomer tag?
Oh, I don't know.
The first comment is still gay.
Oh,
All this attempting to be straight and I'm still gay. Thanks, Quick Dubs. Let's fucking go from Slice Cube. This is going to be a YouTube only stream because we got to get it up and running as quick as possible with a better alternative. I pay for Restream. I pay $20 a month and I get fucking potato quality. Like they just sewer the boys. It's no good.
So does that mean entropy's up or just Shane's give send go?
Just Shane's give send go.
Yeah,
so
today it's all about Shane. Make sure you fucking donate to this guy over here. He's been through a lot. What a solid guy.
Apparently we're all grifting
his way.
Okay, we gotta grift the grift shop.
Don't forget the potato that we all love.
There's no way they could donate to me though. I have no donation thing up. But we do need to plug the grift shop. We do need to plug the grift shop.
There you go.
The grift.shop. I'm gonna drop that in the chat too.
What is the chat? So I'm gonna read the chat now.
Did you try unplugging it and plugging it back in? Yes, that's exactly what we did. It didn't work. All the boys are back, and some of the girls, LaGrosse Patat, Andrew Simpson, Rob Primo. Hell yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, Restream does kind of suck. All right, well, we're good, and we're going to have a good stream now. And, yeah, if any of you guys want to join the stream who have been on this show before, like Ferryman, Tyler, Quick Dub, whoever in the chat, just let us know, and we'll send you a link. And we got it working pretty well now. But,
so what are we getting into first?
well, we're still going over the trial, right? We're still
go.
going over the trial. And I know you feel like maybe you should have fought it. And they did ask you, are you feeling pressured to give your plea? Because we were all watching your lawyer try to adjourn the trial to another date. And then I think, I don't know who asked for it, but your lawyer and the prosecuting Crown attorney, he went into the room with you, like all of you together. They all went into the room together. And then when they came back, you changed your plea to guilty. And you weren't pressured, but you realized the reality of the circumstances for how the trial might go, correct?
Yeah, essentially the statements that I had made prior, essentially admitting guilt. I mean, it's hard to explain.
It is. Maybe I'll explain it a bit. It
was basically a difference between assault with a weapon or assault. So I could have either tried to go to trial with it and claim that justice can't be served because I couldn't subpoena the witness to the event, but they had like 3 citizens lined up ready to testify that they had witnessed me do it, which, you know, I'm not sure how their testimony would have gone, but they had, I think, about 3 citizens that were going to testify, a couple police officers, I think like 2 RCMP officers waiting in Ottawa, probably most likely part of Trudeau's security detail. And then the London police officer that interrogated me obviously they were going to call to the stand to testify as to what I said to him. So yeah, there was no legal path forward really. There was no point fighting it. So I just took the lesser plea.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, if we would have gone to trial, this is the kind of shit that would have gone down.
It would have been way more base though. I'm sorry I couldn't give you guys a show, but you got to fund the operation, guys. Anyway, you got to fund the potato.
I think you guys know where I'm going with this.
Is it?
You guys know. We needed to go, and one brave hero needed to go into that courtroom in blackface.
That's true.
Full Johnny Cochran style, and gone, if the pebble did not hit, then you must acquit. That shit works, man. O.J. Simpson, one of the most prolific killers of the 1990s, got away with just absolutely murdering and fucking decimating his ex-wife and her new lover. And everybody knows it. But you have the crazy unhinged black man going, if it does not fit, if you make a good rhyme in a courtroom and it like maybe makes the even slightest bit of sense and you're a black man, then your guy has a decent chance of getting off.
They are good at rhyming.
Yes. Very true.
Yeah.
Edgy D, aka the black-face Johnny Cochran, Beard and McNasty. Yo, we could put up comments because we're doing StreamYards.
Yeah,
That's so sick.
Let's go.
Let's look at the positives.
Yeah, need a pat on the back.
Let's hear what you guys think. Do you think I should have? What do you think?
Yeah. What does the chat think?
What does the chat think? You think I should have taken the plea, continue to fight?
Dan, the Raging Canadian, is shocked that OJ actually killed his wife. What are they saying? Well, if you're guilty, it's best to admit that. That's what Rogue Spear said.
It's true, and that's honestly like, I don't know. I don't know how much I should even be talking about this, but at the end of the day, like I don't know why I did what I did necessarily. It was very foolish, obviously, and childish. But I think I was trying to make a statement instinctually. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that point, but all right. Yeah, I admitted to it. That's the thing. I admitted to it at the beginning, so there's no point in taking it farther to trial.
Well, I really did not think that the pebbles even hit.
I didn't think it was a
Justin.
Big deal. It was just like, yeah, I did it. What's the big deal?
But there was this other guy. There was these other pebbles that came from elsewhere. I'm pretty sure. And now looking at this video, I'm like, okay, yeah, he got.
Beginning this hour on the federal campaign trail, where heated protests have now escalated to violence. Demonstrators.
Let's go in slow-mo to see. So how much time in the dungeon do you think this is worth, guys?
To be fair, I was like 2 Long Island iced teas deep at this point.
Too long.
So
I don't even know how that factors in.
I was drunk. Come on. I mean, that's a pretty good throw for being somewhat drunk. Allegedly.
At least one protester threw what appeared to be ground.
Well, how do we like maybe a JFK joke? The magic pebble.
Whoever the
Zapruder film. How did the pebble go? How does the pebble
clearly
go
see there's
through
multiple
Justin's
angles.
head? Like the entrance wound is over here, but then the exit wound is over here.
True.
Clearly, there were multiple shooters, okay? We need to check some DNA evidence on the grassy knoll. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I'm just the fall guy, all right?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
Sometimes you just gotta pay the piper.
But they've already been making some headlines about you because you've been all over the news lately.
Yeah.
Pierre Poilievre photographed meeting with known Diagolon member facing charges for assaulting Trudeau. And this is a CBC article. It's very real.
Seems legit.
Now we have some detractors here. Can everybody see this? Is this popping up? Okay, yeah. Everyone's following. We have the pleb over here saying,
Oh, dude, the pleb is an absolute nerd. Fuck.
Yeah. He's
fuck
saying
the pleb.
throwing rocks at a politician. What an absolute loser of a human being,
Bro.
And then he gets a little.
What a cringy statement.
He gets a little kickback, and then he says, "Throwing eggs at a train is way different than assaulting somebody. Keep glorifying losers."
So weird rationalization.
Yeah.
Damaging just property for no reason is silly. That's just stupid.
Yeah. Don't be knocking pebbles, bro. He's a Canadian folk hero. This is our guy, Ferryman. And then Pleb goes on to say, hope he rots in prison. Prison, not just jail. You're going to the penitentiary, boy. Society will be better off without him. You know what? I think society would not be better off without you because you're a plumber by trade.
Yes.
You unclog shitters. And what
Pleb
Pleb is pretty fat and soyed out.
What's Pleb do for a living?
His gut microbiome is probably pretty bad. So he's probably clogging up his shitter day in and day out. And he needs good blue collar workers like Shane to unplug his shitter. Yeah. But he wants him to rot in prison.
It's true, man.
Because a little pebble incident. Okay. And he goes, natural selection is sorting itself out. Okay. And then Ferryman says, he tossed some pebbles at Trudeau and you want him to rot in prison? Weird, man. I want Trudeau to rot in prison.
Mm-hmm. I don't wish to make a statement.
Well done.
But Pleb, no. That guy is cringe. It looks like he's almost got diabetes. Is he eating in that photo? Is he eating something in his pin, in his fucking thumbnail?
He either just finished eating something or he's going to eat something shortly.
He's putting something in his mouth.
Now let's look at some of these articles, you know. They're talking a lot of shit. They're really getting into the legalese of the situation, though I think it's very interesting because I think you've helped the people of the world learn a lot more about the legal process, right? So now everybody now understands parliamentary privilege.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's a W. Yeah, it's a pretty bullshit law.
And it says that if you're a prime minister or like if you're an MP or an MPP, I don't know how far.
I think just if Parliament is in session, so I guess that's federal Parliament. I don't know if it applies to provincial as well. I would assume.
But either way, they mentioned in this Toronto Sun article that you have like an OPP profile about you. And this is part of Project or Operation Hand On, which is when they profiled all the different people involved with Plaid Army or whatever else. And they have redacted documents that were involved in the Emergency Measures Inquiry or whatever it's called, the Emergency Measures Act Inquiry, right? So they were like kind of adding that into it. I don't know if they applied that into how they were sentencing or is that's part of the plea that they're not like going to dig into your past record or how that goes.
Well, they're certainly going to bring up my past record and take it into account for whatever my sentencing will be. So like currently I don't know. It doesn't really. I probably shouldn't discuss these matters. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
You know what we should discuss?
It's already a closed matter. Currently, I have a weapons prohibition for 5 years. So they're probably going to push for a 10-year weapons prohibition. But I'm confident we can probably, since I already have a weapons prohibition, just keep it at the 5 years that it's already at. And
that would make sense. It was dropped to a common assault or whatever,
right.
not with the weapons. So
right.
I think that's fair.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Like I currently have I had no criminal record. They dropped the criminal charge and just gave me a weapons prohibition.
There you go.
I think that's fair.
Well, they're comparing it to the John Chrétien pie face incident of 2000.
Yo, that guy's extremely based. You should watch. You got the clip here.
Yeah. So they're saying a sentencing hearing for Marshall will be held on May 1st. We're going to obviously ask for something that is the least serious possible to allow justice to be served. I think your benchmark is that case where the guy that put the pie in Chrétien's face.
Very articulate.
Yeah, I'm just reading it how it was in this article.
No, I know. This is a statement from who's this, Philip?
So he's hit in the face with a pie. A 24-year-old named Evan Brown was convicted of assault and sentenced to 30 days in jail. So let's see what that looked like. Where's the pie? Okay, I'm just going to type it in on YouTube. John Chrétien pie.
John Jeffrey reports.
Late this morning, Prime Minister John Chrétien arrived at...
So it's kind of going down in history in the likes of politicians getting publicly kind of shamed in a way.
Yeah.
the Old Home Week Fair. There was
Not
only a
to
small
glorify
crowd
it,
and
but it's
security
just
was
a
relaxed.
historical
This
recording.
was just to be a photo opportunity for Chrétien. No one expected what happened almost immediately. Police arrested 23-year-old Evan Brown, a member of a new group calling itself the PEI Pie Brigade.
The government was made accountable.
The PEI Pie Boys.
The PEI Pie Brigade.
The government was made accountable. Because it sure as hell doesn't happen in this country.
What's the problem
My name's Evan Brown. What's my problem? I think just about everybody in this country has a problem.
Aaron Kolazar is another member of the group.
I apologize for not making a base statement like that. Kind of a missed opportunity, but
you know that it was the wrong thing to do. At
certainly,
the end of the day.
I disavow
assault or like any kind of violence is not the answer. We can do this politically.
for sure.
We can do this by spreading the proper message, by influencing the culture. And I think we all understand that. And it's just a matter of making jokes about what has already happened. And just like, you got to work with what you have, man. Yeah, exactly.
It's all fun and games, dude.
Yeah.
Sticks and stones. All right, come on, guys.
And honestly, no one got hurt. So at least we could say that. When he picked up the pebbles and when he threw them, no one was going to get hurt from that. Let's be serious. It's kind of a bit of a charade. That's what's going on. The fact that they're calling it assault with a weapon, and then the mercy that he's getting is that they're downgrading it to just simple assault. Really, dude, that is more of an assault than the pebble that hit Trudeau, allegedly. It's ridiculous, man.
John Jeffrey reports.
Now, I would love to have seen Shane defend himself in court. I think it would have looked something like this.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy, for your expert testimony and for providing this very illuminating tape. Your Honor, I think the video evidence clearly speaks for itself, and that any sane and rational person would have
Philip
no
Millar
choice
and Millar's Law. I would not be able to. This would be me.
but to convict these individuals of these ridiculous crimes.
Blah 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 blah.
Fuck. Objection. That's the 17th time that he has sworn so far.
Richard, please.
All right, I'm fucking sorry about all the bulls.
but all the stuff. But the prosecutor is he's an effing bad guy, and he's pissing me off.
He can't even speak without swearing. Your Honor, this is ludicrous. It's a disgrace to these proceedings.
Thank you. Richard, since you chose to defend yourself and fired the public defender, I guess it's your turn to question the witness.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
And Richard, before you begin, I'd like to say that I think this is a bad idea. However, you do have a right to defend yourself, so proceed, but please remember to watch your language.
Look, and I've only got my grade 10, and I haven't had a cigarette since I've been arrested, and I'm ready to fucking snap. So I'd like to make a request under the People's Freedom of Choices and Voices Act that I be able to smoke and swear in your court.
Yo, why didn't your lawyer not research the Freedom of People's Voices and Choices Act? That is one of the most fundamental charters of rights and people's voices and choices that we had in this law of this land in Canada, right? Come on, man.
I think the senior.
I think he's kind of slacking.
Yeah.
Because if I can't smoke and swear, I'm fucked. And so are all these guys. I won't be able to properly express myself at a court level, and that's bullshit. It's not fair, and if you ask me, I think it's a fucking mistrial.
This man can't represent anyone. Your Honor, he's a complete and total idiot.
Now, although I am opposed to that kind of language in my courtroom, I'm going to allow it, as unfortunately it is part of your right to a fair trial. So you may proceed, but please, I want to remind you that this is not a carnival. Richard, you have permission to smoke and swear.
Thank you. I'm just going to get some cigarettes, actually. Let's go, smokes.
Well, I only got 2 left.
I don't care. You've been a dick all morning. It's the least you can do for me.
Oh, for the love of God.
Just the defendant, please.
That's parliamentary privilege. That's bigot privilege.
True.
My first order of business is to tell the prosecutor to shut the fuck up and wipe that stupid fucking grin off his face.
The Adidas sweatpants.
Next, I'd like to announce that Randy and
I don't know how Randy is allowed to have no shirt in the courtroom to begin with. Like if they don't let the boomer lady just spout out random shit while the court proceedings are happening, why would they let Randy just sit there with his nips hanging out? It's true.
He had been drinking.
Clearly, their fucking waist is fucked too.
I should have wore Randy Hillier's red suspenders.
Next, I'd like to announce that Randy and Leahy have been drinking all fucking day. They're wasted of their fucking minds, and they're both assholes. And the testimony they just gave was total fucking bullshit. And I can prove it, and I'm going to show you what really fucking happened here.
Hey, boys, here's $20 cash. Go up for him, please.
Don't know what that's for. Probably prostitutes.
We don't want your money, Corey and Trevor.
Watch him put the right in his pocket, right there.
What's going on with you guys anyway?
Oh man, we're sick from stealing so much gas, but we should be better in like 6 to 8 days.
Stealing gas? Why, Corey and Trevor, that's highly illegal. You shouldn't be stealing gas, Corey and Trevor.
That's right. It's fucked up to be stealing gas like Corey and Trevor did, and you know I don't want anything to do with Corey and Trevor's gas stealing. We wanted nothing to do with it.
Me neither. You know what I'm saying? Only whack suckers like Corey and Trevor steal gas and deal dope.
It was all Tyler Russell.
I'm literally Corey and Trevor in this situation.
You know, I don't know anything about that. But
it was all
Tyler and accepted money on film, and they admitted they stole gas, and they're sick. I mean, look at them. That's gas sickness. Fucking idiots. I got nothing else to say right now, except that the Crown and Leahy can go fuck themselves.
True.
You're not funny. It's bullshit, are you?
Now that you make them show their hand, right? Because the Crown prosecutor is always drunk, and you're just waiting for them to slip up.
Yeah.
Please, sir, you'll be in contempt of court, and watch your language.
Yeah, Leahy, sit the fuck down. Truth fucking hurts, doesn't it?
What does it take to get in contempt of court? Like if I did the blackface Johnny Cochran, if the
got kicked out.
But she's not in contempt. She's not going to go to jail for being a retard boomer. Did she get arrested?
Yes.
No way.
He was reading, like he was saying outside.
I thought she just got kicked out.
Yeah, no.
And then he was like, "Don't you ever do that, or else you'll get."
I'm pretty sure they
kicked out. And then I was like, "Oh, they're gonna kick you out," and that almost made me want to pipe up, but I didn't. What's up, Ferryman?
Yo.
Average Pebbles enjoyer. How's it going, buddy?
How's it
Pretty
going?
Good. Yeah, that was fun. Why didn't you just blame everything on Tyler, dude? If Tyler was
is Lee, Corey, and Trevor?
if Tyler was a good friend, he would have said, yo, man, just blame everything on me. I don't even live in Canada anymore. They can't even get to me. So just say it was me. I'll say it was too. I'll write an affidavit. And then boom, you walk, you know, like what was the problem here?
I know, man. Hey, that's a good discussion. That's you should have been part of my legal counsel.
This is.
Listen, dude, you got to start Diagonal Law Firm. All right.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea.
I think we can make it work.
Yeah,
that would be a bad idea.
Way.
So what? So you're waiting for sentencing?
Yeah.
What do they expect you're going to get sentenced with?
I don't know. They were talking. They threw a lot of numbers and things at me, so I'm not really. I don't know exactly. They talked about 3 months. I'm not sure if they're talking about probation or
what
something. Or
3 months?
Yeah, I think that was if you didn't take the plea, though.
That might have been if I didn't take.
Dude, he doesn't give a fuck. He wants to go to jail.
Honestly, I think it would have been kind of exciting.
That would be so
but
sick.
it's just like
Pebble's
at a certain
adventure?
point, it's like, what's like for what? The statement's already made. There's no statement to be made further.
Yeah, well, it's one of these things though too, where like, could you imagine if they had actually thrown you in jail for that?
Right, and that would have been, I should have just been the martyr, and yeah, I feel kind of cowardly for not, I guess, falling on the sword.
Okay, so Shane, you think you're ready for jail? What would you do in this situation here?
This fucking.
Yo, you need a helping hand there, pretty boy?
It's you, Shane.
Bro, I don't know. I keep my hair cut for that exact reason.
You keep your hair okay, yeah, high and tight.
This guy's got fucking earrings on, dude. Those are gonna be I gotta
maybe I'm projecting a little bit onto you.
This manlet.
Let's keep going. Okay.
All right, Vernon. No need to get testy.
I'm literally the old man.
You okay? He was gonna rape me. Fucking nigger. We'll protect you from now on. You'll be safe.
So mean.
Jesus, thanks. But like everything else in life, it's gonna cost.
Uh-oh, Shane. What are you gonna do?
I told him. I apologize. I told him not to play this video. It's so degenerate. It is funny though.
You've got an alcohol problem, so you should join Sister Pete's therapy.
Fucking Christ. What? Remember that friend Franklin Winthrop I was telling you about?
Yeah.
That's him.
Shane bros down bad.
Yeah, man.
Your boy's next.
It's sink or swim in there, dude.
So what do you
got
do?
to do the courtesy flushes.
What happens?
You can't be getting in fights for no reason.
Right, but what happens if someone gives you a
I was
chocolate
prepared,
bar?
Dude. I was ready. You don't take no.
You don't take any.
You don't take nothing, dude.
Yeah, you don't take
unless
nothing.
you earn it. But through.
These are questions that you all have to ask yourself going forward. When you're in prison, are you going to take the chocolate bar?
Nah, dude.
You got to know your prison rules, man. Shit is getting real out there.
I feel like I could have handled it.
Why are we discussing?
I would have excelled in prison life. I would have wrote a book. I know. I don't say. The more this goes on, the more I kind of regret.
You can't meme comp. That's already been taken. Okay.
Mine pebbles.
Marshall's Manifesto. I'm kind of thinking it's got a ring to it. I'll just go full Chris Guy. Buy my merch. Vote for mayor. I actually do support Chris Guy for mayor of Toronto, even though he's a gay retard. You can probably get me liable for that, but he probably would too because he's a gay retard. But yeah, no, Chris Guy for mayor of Toronto because it's a town of degenerate retards. So why not elect one as mayor, right? I mean, yeah.
Exactly. This is the thing, right? Even if you hate him, I don't understand why you can't get behind Chris Guy for mayor. Like, sorry to rephrase that. Even if you're from the freedom movement and you hate Chris Guy. Come on. Like, you can still get on board with him going into Toronto and just fucking shit up.
Yeah,
You don't
I like Ben Bacon or that the comedian also that's running.
Ben Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, I know he's like probably I know he's a tiny hat, but I think he's hilarious. And I think, again, I don't really care either way. I just want chaos. So either one is good for me. To be honest with you, Ben is probably more level-headed than this tyrant, Chris Guy. But I don't care either way. Chris Guy is pretty base too. He's got some base content. He's just a fucking retard.
Well,
so that's fine.
Chris Guy has the.
Well, okay. Well, let's be careful about, you know, who we call retards, you know, Shane, considering
yeah, you're right. Don't throw pebbles in a glass house, or, you know, but you know,
You might scuff up the glass a little bit. You're not going to break it, but
maybe I should make
it a little bit.
Yeah, I should. Well, the option's always on the table, Chris. I know. Well,
what, is he looking for, like an advisor or something?
No. He knows.
he knows.
Is this a real article? Fuck.
Yeah, for sure. This is legit.
Totally real. About as real as
Well, fuck, I'm actually surprised too. I made that fake article and I was so confident. I was like, oh, for sure this one's like the media's going to pick this one up. Shane met with Pierre. He's about to go on trial. No, they didn't touch it.
No.
Fine. What the hell?
Ever since the convoy, they're just like, yo, this guy cannot keep getting away with this.
It actually made me miss Rachel Gilmore for a second, because I'm sure she would have fucking tweeted about it or written an article about it. Fuck, you know.
Yeah,
now I miss her.
She's gone. Yeah,
My Rachel.
I think we should hire her. Where is she going now? Is she trying to get a job somewhere? She's got to be.
Well, I don't know. Have you been talking to OnlyFans?
I think
all?
Randy Hillier should hire her as like a media
No.
a media advisor. Have I been talking to who?
OnlyFans, because I think that's where she's probably going next.
That's
right?
fair. That's kind of greasy.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go
this
ahead.
is obviously a fairy tale, but come on. No, this didn't go. I can't believe this one didn't take off.
This one was way more believable. This is.
I know. The fuck?
I think because people don't really know my face. They're like, okay, who is this rando? So that's probably why. And really, I mean, it's kind of insignificant. It's one thing to have Derek on there, holding a Diagolon flag with an elected member, but just some guy shaking a hand of a politician is.
Oh no, I thought it was gonna pick up more steam.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty gay.
Yeah. I'm definitely surprised. Dude, it's not just the Diagolon connection. It's that you're the guy that threw pebbles at the fucking prime minister.
Exactly.
I was amazed that nobody fucking bid on that. Was the violent pebble thrower is meeting with Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think maybe just because it was so close to the election that maybe they wanted to wait till Tuesday. And now that it's come out that I have pled guilty, maybe it'll pick up some steam. Who knows?
Maybe.
Like and share.
Get that article out there, guys. Where'd fucking Manlet go?
He's I don't know.
Fucking PP dribbler Edgy DS.
Yeah,
30 fucking pisses a day and leaves us hanging. So
he's so small that his bladder's so small it just can't
kind of fucking just bool.
Yeah.
Whatnot. It was is nice coming out to London today.
For sure.
It's a little sad seeing how the court case went, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty entertaining seeing again that lady speaking out in court. I mean, again, kind of based. It was kind of fuck these people. We should have a right to cross-examine and whatnot. But she got her ass yeeted out of the.
Yeah, I think she definitely probably got arrested.
Yeah, I could hear them reading her rights or whatever outside the court.
I want to apologize to anybody that showed up and I just kind of ignored. I just walked straight into the building. So if anybody showed up to the courthouse and didn't get to see me, I apologize. But yeah.
But yeah, I think Edgy will be back in 1 second, and then we're gonna get. I don't know what are we getting into?
Some content.
What are we getting into?
Yo, how much of a Dilbert respecter are you, Barry?
Of a Dilbert what?
Dilbert respecter.
Respecter. I don't know. It's going to be fun using the comic and all the memes that will come out of it. If you mean Claude Adams there, Scott Adams, how much do I like him?
Either or, right?
Well, yeah, no, the fucking Dilbert memes, the Dankbert memes have been unbelievable. They're so good. And then there's like, you know, obviously the audio from that is getting used in places and like it's funny, but like the thing that makes it so ridiculous is that like Scott Adams is not at all who they're trying to portray him as, right? That's what makes it funny. Is like he's become this symbol of like whatever, the far right, and he's not that at all. He's like an MLK like era conservative, like that type, you know what I mean? Like he's got like, he doesn't actually believe what he was saying. He's just saying like, is this what it has become now that I don't want any part of it? So like, I don't know. I think it's funny. I like that he didn't back down.
Yeah, he hasn't backed down.
Yeah, that's the fucking base thing he did. Is whenever they all came out, we're like, you need to fucking apologize and you need to say that you're like that was race. He was just like, fuck you.
Never
Good.
apologize. Never apologize.
Okay, I kind of want to play it because, you know, I know this has been talked about by a lot of us, but Edgy D has not done a thing on it, and
you know, nearly.
I want to give some context for it, so I'm gonna
roll
play
the
it.
clip.
Roll the clip. Stop screen. Present. Share screen.
Wow, you're such a great producer, Eddie.
It's all good, man.
Half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll. Not according to me, according to this poll.
Okay, so I love how he uses like the boomer technique of, oh, it's not me saying it, it's this poll, right?
Make the straw man.
Yeah. It's not me coming up with this, and because Scott Adams, since I first ever heard of him in 2016, when he was shilling, he wasn't shilling Trump, but he was really getting headlines and getting a lot of attention because he was talking about the persuasion that Trump uses. And he would talk about how when Trump disses somebody like Hillary or Sleepy Jeb or Sleepy Joe or like slow Jeb, low energy Jeb, he would have
Jeb.
Yeah. He would have a linguistic kill shot. So that was part of the whole persuasion thing that Scott Adams was pushing, because he's also a hypnotist, like a professional hypnotist, which, you know, street hypnotists were like, you are gonna suck my dick, boom, 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 and like that's not a real thing. But there is something about putting people in a suggestible state, and that is definitely something that the media does with stuff like repetition and other techniques like that. So it's somewhat of a pseudoscience, but Scott Adams is definitely catching on to something that a lot of other people don't get. And also another thing that really impressed me about Scott Adams back in 2016 is he has like Real Coffee with Scott Adams is a show, but he's been doing it for a while. And he had a really good episode that I watched early on where he was talking about skill stacks. How if you want to get in a creative endeavor, like you're not going to be the best at one thing. Like you're not going to be the best pianist. You're not going to be the best comedian. But if you pick like 3 to 5 things that you're good at, like you're good at analyzing politics, you're good at edgy comedy, you're good at playing guitar, you're good at editing video.
You're just talking about yourself here.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
you jerk yourself off.
Like, because Scott Adams jerked me off, and that's why I like him. Okay, in a non-sexual way, in a purely intellectually way, right? But anyways, that's just my background with Scott Adams. Though, as a kid, my parents wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons, South Park, or Family Guy, or any of this stuff. But they thought Dilbert was okay because it was in the newspapers. So as like an 8-year-old, I would watch Dilbert, and I was fascinated because I knew it was an adult cartoon. I even dressed up as the pointy-haired boss for Halloween.
Now we know where the
Like I had some hat that had the
edgy
pointy.
lord.
Yeah. But anyways, deep mad respect for Dilbert. And I got stoned the other night and I was like, we got to rewatch Dilbert now and see if he's as based as it was. It's a great show. Like very smart writing, good writing. I recommend Dilbert.
That's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away.
Love speech.
Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed.
And it really is a problem that can't be fixed. Equality is not something that is fixable by any measures that we have applied so far. Like equality of opportunity, yes. For a long time, we have had equality of opportunity, but now it's pushing towards the direction where in the name of equity, we're getting rid of equality of opportunity, which is what we want as a free democratic society. But we can't have that because equity, where everybody is thought to be equal, which is just the most insane concept to begin with. Like, and especially when you chop that up in between race groups or different identity groups, it's never going to work. And I think he's really touching upon that. And I think he's saying something to the effect that with the current paradigm that we're chopping people up into, like, yeah, this is not going to work.
Yeah, and well, when you talk about equality of outcome, right? It's funny that the left wants to talk about dictators and whatnot, but when you try to impose equality of outcome, you basically put yourself in a situation where you end up with a dictator that has to constantly enforce this equality of outcome, and it's just a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Right, this can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where I have a very low black population. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where I have a very low black population, because unfortunately there's a high correlation between the density. And this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here,
and they always go the boomer way. This is according to Don Lemon. Somebody else is saying this, and they try to use it. I feel like he's trying to persuade his audience. And this is the thing about Scott Adams is, he's up to something. He thinks that he's like a 4D chess master. So when he's doing this, it's like with a wink in his eye. And I'm like, what are you doing, Scott? And even with the Claude Adams shit where he was shilling for the vax, like, I just didn't want to deal with that. I was like, I'm just going to ignore this shit. Like, I know he's probably full of shit. But then he came around and had some big thing about how, like, turns out you guys were right. And it's like, okay. I kind of shied away from that. I don't really want to get into the Claude Adams shit. But I feel like he's really making up for it by bringing these things front and center. And then using his 4D chess type logic in order to really get... Like, because if he said this in the most... respectful ways where he says, oh, there's a lot of black and white violence and I just really don't like that. And there's just a lot of good black people, but there's also a lot that I don't want to be around because of the high crime statistics. He could have said it like that and it probably would have not made any headlines. But the way he said it, he was kind of trying to draw people in. It's like he was trying to get canceled. And I really respect that about what he was doing there. And now he just has his own show with his fans, and they're like, we know what you're doing, and we're here for the ride, like on his own channels and stuff.
Do you think do you really think that's what it was? I kind of thought that Scott Adams was just a bit of a spurg. Like, he's just going off here, and he's not really thinking about, like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't get the impression. Go ahead.
Like, with the quality of stuff that I've heard from him, like, 6-7 years ago, and the fact that in like 2016, I heard him in interviews say that he got fired from one of his first jobs because they weren't promoting any more white people. And I've heard stuff about this affirmative action thing coming from him multiple times, and it's only a matter of time. And a guy this smart who, like, maybe he's not as smart. He's like the smart guy's dumb guy or whatever you want to call it. But I feel like he was waiting for a time to unleash this.
Maybe.
Even the way he says, I bet you weren't expecting that today. He wrote a book about persuasion. So I think he's like a guy who's plotting out something like that. And I also heard him say positive things about Ye. Like he was trying to say that what Ye is doing is genius without co-signing onto the actual statements that Ye was saying. And I feel like Scott Adams was trying to, he resonated with that, but didn't know how to say it. Because there's no real way to support somebody when they say that if you don't want to get completely canceled, obliterated yourself.
I guess so, yeah. I don't know I think the biggest takeaway is that people are talking about something that is obviously an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Tyler Russell's in chat. Yay 24.
Yeah,
so
I was
true.
just gonna say Tyler's probably like, yo, Ye's right.
Yay.
Ye's right. Let's
Yay.
go.
They said yay.
Let's go.
Yo, let's send Tyler.
Shout outs to Tyler.
Yeah, 07s. They were at the Fuentes rally there. I need one of those black AF hats, Russ, if you're listening. I'll trade you. I'll trade you for my Agilite gloves that survived the siege. Russ keeps rocking these weird gloves. I don't know why he's rocking gloves or what the lore behind these gloves are, but I keep trying to get him to buy these. What are they? They're Agilite like gloves for firearms. But you buy them from Israel. They're from the state of Israel, from Agilite. But they make great gear.
Okay, let's hear some more about.
I'm shilling for Zog, but it's all right.
Let's hear what's.
What's is your favorite rifle a Tabor too? There, Shane.
No, dude, bullpups are cringe.
Yeah, the massage just swipe him up. I feel like this guy will just go up wherever will give him some action.
I just want war.
Let's go. Let's go.
Somebody can script this guy. Somebody can script this guy.
I'm reformed.
He's reformed.
I'm a reformed warist.
I'm just quoting Don Lemon.
Dude, he's just quoting Don Lemon. Don't worry about it.
When he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off.
It's unchristian.
Like I've been doing it all my life. And
it just seems so weird the way these people go about it. Like, it's like he got red pilled, but he's doing it in such a very specific way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how about you just like tell what the crime statistics are, what the poll statistics are, and just give your opinion and say like, he's just getting very stylistic about it. And that makes me think that he's up to
Owen
something.
Benjamin vibes, to be honest with you. I feel like this guy could be a total cult leader. He should just buy somewhere and yeah.
He definitely does have that cultish like you want to be a real coffee guy with Scott Adams. You want to sip with me? Like he's up to something, you know.
I can see it.
Have you heard about hate motivated littering, Ferry?
Oh God, no.
Oh, you're gonna hate this. Just gonna make sure you can see that. All right. So I'm just gonna play this and then I'm gonna explain the context.
Holding people accountable without.
So this is in Florida, USA, where they supposedly have the Second Amendment, and then you're gonna shit yourself.
Violating their free speech.
Sure. And again, I would remind you that there's no First Amendment right to conduct. There's a First Amendment right to speech. And the things that we're targeting in the bill are not speech. Again, if someone wants to stand across the street from my house and wave a sign on the sidewalk, they have every right to do that. And this bill won't have anything to do with that. But when it veers into conduct, and so the way we're going to approach this is through a hate crime kicker. So if you graffiti a building, it is a crime now. But if your motivation is hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in prison. If you want to litter, it's a crime right now. But if you litter and if your motivation is a hate crime, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail. It is a crime right now to hang banners from an interstate. For obvious reasons, we don't want to distract drivers. But if you do that and you have a hate crime, a hate motivation, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail.
How optimistic are you of moving this bill along?
I guarantee the bill will pass.
When will?
And I never do that.
Does that seem at all problematic to you?
Yeah, for obvious reasons. Like it invites the same thing that, like, you know, all of these types of things. Like, you know, I had a fairy tale a while back where I took, you know, somebody spray painted the word freedom on a school, I think in Ontario somewhere, where I forget where this was, or maybe it wasn't a school, a library or something like that. And, you know, I took the image, you know, it was in an article. It's like somebody freedom movement graffiti school, right? And I just flipped that to hate speech graffitied on, you know, local school, something like that. And it's like that's the problem right there, is they'll start construing anything they don't like as being hate speech, right? So like if you were to, yeah, he's right, graffiti is a crime, right? But now if you graffiti something we don't like, we're going to call it hate, and then you're going to do 5 years for it.
You want to here's something interesting that I caught on to. So listen to this. He said, if you graffiti, and the thing is, there's one group called the Goyim Defense League that has been projecting with lasers onto buildings, like Ye was right, stuff like that. So he said project, and then he corrected himself because projecting lights or a projector or lasers onto a building is not a crime. But they don't care about the fact that it's littering. They only care about the message, and they're trying to find a roundabout way in order to usurp, to evade, to get around First Amendment issues so they could put people in jail for 5 years for littering. This is insanity. This is not First Amendment. This is a complete, like, desecration of the First Amendment.
Absolutely.
And if America falls on the First Amendment, then we're all fucked. Yeah. Like, Canada is already kind of fucked with that.
For sure it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But, like, these guys have that in mind. Now, what do you think about this, though? Because Adam Green, like, a lot of us are familiar with him, but he says anti-Semitism hate speech laws about to be passed in Florida thanks to the Kosher Goon Squad. And who he is referring to is the Goyim Defense League. And these guys give no fucks. Like, they do a lot of comedy with the way that they troll, but it's very extreme. And it's evoking a really strong response, as you could see here. So a lot of people are giving them accusations of being feds, but it's also a matter of it. Like, if you have a First Amendment right, you should be able to use it to hate as much as you want. However, now the lawmakers are trying to figure out little loopholes in which they could permanently entrap people who may go a little bit too far in some kind of activism, right? Because you can say whatever you want, but as soon as you get out in the real world, you get into a little tussle. Somebody pushes you and you push them back. That could be simple assault. That could be assault with a weapon. If your weapons are words at this point, because words are weapons, according to lawmakers in Canada or all over the mainstream media, right?
Yeah. The Goyim Defense League. I don't know. I struggle with them because, like, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what they say, but some of it is funny, or at least it was. Like, it was just
humor. I love shock humor.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
shocking.
It doesn't
Exactly.
matter if Black Hebrew Israelites want to say, "White boy, suck my dick and lick my boot," and then some white guy licks his fucking boot, I will be kecking. I will laugh my ass off. I'll play it on stream. But if I were to play a GDL clip and I were to laugh, it would be like, "EdgeStream loves the Goyim Defense," and it would be bullshit. But you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah,
Is.
no, I get what you mean, and that's why, like, I don't know, if you want to do this kind of thing, I think that, like, what Tyler and Dalton and the America First guys are doing, like, that's the way to go about it.
I agree.
Like, and I don't even like what that Kanye interview on Alex Jones is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. That's my take on it. It was fucking hilarious. Other than that, I don't really care. It was shocking, right? To me, it was shock humor. I thought it was funny.
Publicity, I agree.
Yeah, like, but so, like, there's a huge difference between what, like, Tyler and Dalton are absolutely going about this the right way. Like, whether you agree with them or not, they're not fucking going to, Shabbat synagogues and fucking yelling at rabbis trying to leave, throwing up fucking Romans. Okay,
that's the newest one that went viral, though.
Yeah, like there's a big difference between going and offering to debate and talk to people about something that's controversial versus fucking going to a rabbi with a megaphone and yelling Jews are parasites at him. Okay, that's just dumb. And I don't know if they have the right to do that. Honestly, I think if you're in America, I don't know, based on how I understand the law, you have the right to do that in public, but not at someone like that. That ventures into, like, harassment, right? That's not free speech anymore. You're verbally attacking someone. You're going out of your way to harass and intimidate somebody on the street, as opposed to just saying something publicly. So where
do you draw that line, though? Because anybody could feel like they're being harassed. Harassment seems like a feeling, but there could be a legally defined, like, how many times did they shut you down and then you just kept coming at them, right? Was it a public or private property? Like, these are all things that definitely need to be taken into account. And here in Canada, like, the logic you're using would just be abused against you constantly.
Oh, it's already so far gone in Canada.
Right.
We have fucking mayors using police forces as their own personal Stasi to shut down protests. So, like, if you want to take this debate to Canada, the Goyim Defense League would have been fucking arrested yesterday.
Yeah,
there's no way
that their first hijinks, right?
They'd be looking at 2 years. I'm not joking. Like, based on what I forget his name, the former Canadian Nationalist Party leader, who's doing what? 3 years as far as I know, the things he was saying were basically what the Goyim Defense League was saying. So, like, you couldn't get away with anything close to that in Canada, even just talking online, let alone going to a synagogue and then yelling at people. So do I get what they're doing? Yes. Do I agree with them? No. Do I think that there should be new laws to, curb speech so that they can't do what they're doing? No. But, like, what they're doing is dumb. It's dumb. Like, there's a difference between putting flyers out, that's the interesting one too.
Here's the thing, though. Think about what, like, me and you both know which viral video. We can't play it because it's fucked, right?
Yeah.
We can't play that viral video. We both know what we're talking about with that. but then also dropping flyers that say every aspect of COVID is Jewish or whatever it said on those flyers. Not agreeing with it. But is that a 5-year offense for littering? A hate-motivated litter. This is what is happening. And I don't necessarily, yes, they're accelerating it in a sense, but I think that was the plan all along. If they're willing to do that in order to shut people down, then that was the plan all along. And the ADL are just getting like a treat with that.
As far as I know, that was actually their argument. I listened to Red Ice's stream from yesterday today, and they talked about this whole scene. That's where I saw the parts of the video anyways. I've seen it in a couple places now, but they had a clip of him where he was talking about it, and he was like, his argument was something like, every time before Jews get kicked out of a country, they try to enact these types of laws. What's his name?
Gypsy Crusader. So he was interviewing Gypsy Crusader, and he talked about that. Yes.
Yeah, and so I don't understand the logic there, but there was a clip where he was like, "So now we got to do whatever we can to get this bill passed," something along those lines. So yeah, you're right. They think this is a good thing. Oddly, for some reason, I don't really get it. They're accelerating. That's exactly what they're doing.
There goes 6 million brain cells.
This guy's a little sick here. Dude. He got sick today, and he's blowing out his nose. Boy. It's all good, man. He showed up, and I'm glad.
Yes.
But I know which interview you're talking about there, and that is a good question. It's just like, when does your behavior, when does it cross the line into helping them or helping the cause, right? Because we all know that this crazy QAnon stuff where it's like Queen Romana's like, I want to put a bullet in the head, 2 bullets in the head of each child that got the vaccine or something, and then she draws it back, and it's just weird shit like that, right? Yeah. And we know that that's not helpful, and we know that our spaces are being infiltrated. But at the same time, you don't want to counter signal people who are trying to push the Overton window. I don't think they're pushing it in a good way. I don't agree with what they're saying at all. However, you should be able to hate who you want and take it to the logical extreme that is not inciting violence, I think. Because you can always say that you're doing something like that. It could always be construed because it's based on a feeling, right?
Yeah, ultimately, all these curves, I do get what they're doing. I don't agree with them, obviously, but I understand their logic. I don't think it's good logic or sound logic, but I get what they're saying. I agree with Adam Green's take on this was right. You're feeding into what groups like the ADL want. And it's just such a weird spot because it's you're
a cockberry, you're a fucking cock.
How do you defend them without defending them? Because I'm trying to defend not what they're saying or what they're espousing, but their right to say it. So but it's also fucking, I don't know.
Anybody could say whatever they want about me, but I think what really gets me is.
There is something to this here, which is, as far as I know, Goyim Defense League is a peaceful organization. They don't espouse or preach violence of any kind. They don't endorse violence of any kind. It's similar to, I don't know if it's similar. White Lives Matter is much less fucking vile about what they're doing, right? They don't fucking, that's not their MO at all. But the same thing, they're an entirely peaceful organization that doesn't endorse violence, that endorses just peaceful activism, stickering campaigns, this type of stuff, right?
Sorry, I have my other friend Phil here with some eyes here.
Yeah, so it's I get what these groups are doing in a way, because there's a new one that's going around. I don't know if you've seen this image. I don't know who made the original, but it's it's like a step up from it's okay to be white, right? It's called it just says white people deserve to live. Have you seen this one?
Yes, it's like it is what do you call it? A rhetorical step up from like what the intention of it's okay to be white is, because that's one thing they got mad at Mr. Dilbert for, is because he was spurging out over the fact that 50% of blacks or so didn't agree with it's okay to be white. And they're like, didn't you know that that's an alt-right thing? And it's like, okay, most blacks don't fucking know that it's okay to be white is like an alt-right dog whistle or whatever you're talking about.
I highly doubt it was. So the numbers were something like 53, I think it was 53% of black, like, and again, this is 1,000 people that were polled, which is, there's a whole other angle to this too, which was all of a sudden, all these fucking people that take polls literally all the time, now, for some reason, they have the ability to, use nuance and critical thinking and be like, well, this is a really tiny sample for a poll. Like, you can't just extrapolate from this tiny sample, right? So, like, all of a sudden, they understood how, statistics work. But,
well, the thing is that these kind of studies have been going on for a while, where it's like in-group preferences versus out-group preferences. And we already knew that white people have the worst in-group preferences, and then black people have the best in-group preferences, even though they kill each other the most en masse. It's crazy, but they also have the most interracial violence. And generally, those studies have already been done. They've already been proven, but no one listens to them. So it's kind of weird that Scott Adams picked up this Rasmussen poll. It seems like he was up to something. And
honestly, I think that the poll is probably accurate. Honestly, I think it is probably accurate.
It is accurate, yeah.
But it wasn't 47% of black people don't think it's okay to be white. It was 23% don't think it's okay to be white, or said, it was also broken down, wasn't it? It was agree, strongly disagree. I thought
it was like 25 or something percent said it wasn't okay. Like they disagreed with it being okay.
Yeah.
The other 20 something percent said not sure. And then
Yeah. So like, but his logic is there, right? Because like, well, if you're not sure if it's okay to be white, that doesn't really do much good for me either. Like if you're not sure about the concept of whether it's okay to be the thing that you're born, then I guess we have an issue, right? Like to me, it's like, is it okay to be black? Yes. Like, strongly agree. What do you mean? Like, that's not a hard question to answer, right? I'm not unsure about that. It's an easy one. So saying that half, if like, lumping those two together and saying, almost half makes sense. Like, there's logic to that. So why did we bring that up though, again?
Well, the reason I actually wanted to jump on, I heard you talking about the Goyim Defense League and like freedom of speech and stuff like that. And I will say I do disagree slightly that they ventured to harassment, because I think that harassment requires like a few things to take place. So, for example, if the Goyim Defense League was going outside some rabbi's house and, it had megaphones and were screaming, you're a parasitic Jew and all this kind of stuff. And then he came out and said, guys, you need to leave. You're harassing me. You're bothering me. I don't want to engage with you, all that kind of stuff. And then they stayed there and they kept bothering him, I think then it would be harassment. But when they're going by like a big, pro-Israel rally and they're screaming stuff that you or I may not scream, but, it's not like a rally, an event, and they're just yelling shit at Jewish people. That's just, to me, that is like the essence of freedom of speech. And we may not agree with their tone and the way that they're going about doing it, but I wouldn't consider that harassment. I actually think that that's a perfect example of what the First Amendment is there to protect, is speech that may make you feel uncomfortable, and most people may disagree with it, but it should be allowed. And I think that if you start heading down a road where that kind of speech is considered harassment, like Edgy was saying, to what end, and then we get into the situation we have in Canada where we pretty much can't even voice basic dissidence, to any issue without it being considered some sort of hate speech or violence or whatever they come up with.
Well, yeah, you're onto something here. Definitely, Phil. I agree. It's just, dude, it's not even that thing. You're right. I'm thinking of this as harassment, not because of what they did, but because of what they said and like, the vulgarity behind it. So you're right. Like that in and of itself does not constitute harassment. Just
One
because
other
it's
thing I would
vulgar.
say too is I think you also have to remember that there is within like the dissident right or the right wing in general, there is different people with different perspectives. And while like often we like to think that everyone has the same kind of, you know, maybe ideas that we do, because most of us come from like a freedom oriented background. We want freedom for ourselves, liberty, those kind of principles. Some people do actually just hate people. And there are people that actually just hate Jews. And like the Goyim Defense League, they're hilarious. Like Edgy was saying, like I laugh my ass off at some of that shit, but they do probably hate Jews. So like I think you're looking at it from like a perspective of somebody who isn't actually hateful, and you're trying to like rationalize why they would do such a thing. And I think it's hard to rationalize when you don't actually hate people. And I think they probably actually hate Jews. And I think they look at the world as like in that very like Wignat perspective where it's like Jewish people are responsible for every single evil ever, you know, which is just like that. When you get to that point, you're not being rational anymore.
Well, I think that's also, I will say something. When you disallow people a normal platform on mainstream media, then you allow people like this to come from flank from way from the right to be like, oh, yeah, like, and then they go viral on World Star. Like that video, there's the video that we were talking about that we are not going to show, had like 10 million views on Twitter.
Yeah.
So flanked in from the right. Meanwhile, we are trying to talk about things in a reasonable manner, saying, hey, look, we have these statistics here. We have like these convincing arguments using like good rhetoric. We're not trying to be hateful. We're trying to be as fair as possible, but we're also trying to defend ourselves from what we feel are like attacks on our identities. Yet, then we get like all these things get lumped together and they muddy the waters. And I think that is what the ADL wants, and that's what Adam Green is getting at.
I'm glad you brought up the ADL, because the thing that I find really concerning about this law, more so than like, because you listed these reasons, right? And you said like, okay, well, what is anti-Semitism then? Because just today you had the ADL come out and say that Donald Trump gave a speech where he talked about what did he say? Expelling the warmongers, getting rid of the communists and kicking the globalists out, right, of America. And the ADL comes out and says like, this is, they implied that what he said was anti-Semitic. So now if you criticize communists, if you criticize globalists, if you criticize warmongers like the people in Ukraine, is that anti-Semitism according to this law? So if I'm out there protesting,
imagine calling like the token Shabbos Goy an anti-Semite.
Well,
that's what I mean though, is like either way, the point here is like, yeah, you can get into, you know, Trump was obviously, you know, MAGA in the front, taking it from Israel in the rear, like obviously. But the point here is that like he didn't say anything about Jews, and he got labeled anti-Semitic. So what if I come out now, if I'm whatever Goyim Defense League, and I'm not going to talk about Jews, I'm going to talk about communists. I'm gonna go to whatever communist rallies and yell that they're all fucking parasites. That's anti-Semitic too now? So I'm going to jail for 5 years for criticizing communists because apparently criticizing communism is anti-Semitic. So I guess I'm fucked, right? Can't criticize communism. That's anti-Semitic. What?
Yeah, they've been doing that one for a while, actually, with the globalist language, especially. Like they used to use that on Alex Jones back in like 2009, 2010, by basically saying that every time he was talking about globalists, he was talking about, you know, the quote unquote Jewish cabal, as they like to put it. And I've even seen it mentioned with the central banks recently, where there's like people that are purely economic channels on YouTube, like literally guys that are nerds that like look at charts all day. They're talking about like what the Fed is doing, and people are saying that it's anti-Semitic, and like they're trying to come up with some conspiracy theory about the central banks controlling everything, and that's somehow anti-Semitic and all this kind of shit. And it's just like, so you can't criticize anything leftist basically because they're just going to pull the anti-Semitism card. And like that's where, you know, I kind of get stuck in the middle between those Goyim Defense guys, because like while I don't take it as extreme as they do, I also look at like, okay, we can't criticize any leftist ideology without being called anti-Semites. So I understand where some of their frustration comes from, for sure.
They're connecting us to them no matter what. right?
Right,
And
right.
that's always the goal. There's no good faith when it comes to how they treat them or us.
Well, I was talking about this on my Twitter space on Sunday. This got brought up because I think it got brought up because of Christine Anderson, right? And they accused, I don't even know if they accused her directly or if they just accused, her party, Alternative for Deutschland, of being anti-Semitic. And somebody's like, well, the party's anti-Semitic. And I'm like, literally everything is anti-Semitic. If you're not getting accused of being anti-Semitic at this point, you're not a dissident.
Yeah,
right.
For
one, I think the accusations were one that they're globalists. So immediately, if you're left wing enough, or even like neoliberal, neoconservative enough, then globalist equals anti-Semitism, right?
Well, that's Phil brought up an example there of I forget where this was, but was it Karima? It was somebody. So
Scooter Girl. I got in.
Hang on. We can get into Karima after. Just let me. So I don't think it was her actually. I think it was somebody else. But they went to one of these freedom protests. This is like over a year ago, probably now. And they said that she was talking to people, and she was talking to maybe it was a convoy. And this guy was talking about central banks and how the central banks are the problems behind everything. And then she goes and she tweets like, this is just thinly veiled anti-Semitism and everybody knows it. Yeah. Like, wait a second. He didn't say anything about the Jews. You didn't claim that he said anything about the Jews. And now you're saying that because he talked about central. What are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wait,
what?
So it's racist and anti-Semitic to say that Jews run the banks, but then if you criticize the central banks, you're being anti-Semitic.
Yeah. So like, this is where it gets like, okay, like, and that's why I say like, I don't care. The anti-Semitism argument is to me is just it's worse than when they label you as racist or Nazi, like that. That's probably the worst one in terms. Sorry,
they always lead with it because they know that will cause ruptures between your potential allies. It's a very tricky move that they pull. They say anti-Semite or Holocaust denier, Alex Vrend, because they know that might possibly cause a rift between somebody who might actually give you money to work for them. That could be a good pairing in order for you to be even more effective with some backing behind you. That's why they say it.
Yeah, this is like I said, it's really losing its power. Like, because they've used it so many times now on the most milquetoast, boomer con kind of, like, for fuck's sake. Wall Street Silver has been accused of being anti-Semitic for the same reasons we just brought up, because they talk about central banks, right? Because they're focused on, how the central banks have basically manipulated the price of precious metals for years, and they've been labeled as anti-Semitic by some of these groups. I've seen that levied at them. Like, if you're in the dissident right long enough, you're going to get accused of being anti-Semitic at some point. And less it has the desired effect they want it to, because, like I just said, they're accusing Wall Street Silver of being anti-Semitic for talking about banking. Like, this is where they start to lose people, right? Like,
well, and the real thing that kills me about that too is a lot of the people involved in the economic issues are like libertarian at best. Most of them are actually more like centrist type people. So they're not even like right wingers. These are just people that are anti-establishment. And now you're basically saying that anyone who's anti-establishment is now anti-Semitic, and it kind of reminds me of like favors. Exactly. It reminds me of back in the day when, like pre-Obama, there used to be like a coming together of the minds of left and right wing people around issues of central banks, like with people like Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich, a lot of the early Alex Jones people, like the early movement of Occupy Wall Street was actually about ending the Fed. It was focused on the Fed, and then it was co-opted by all of these leftists to become like a anti-rich people, anti-1% movement. But at its core, when it first started, it was like exposing what the central banks were doing to society. And I think they realized at that time that we can't have people coming together from the left and the right because they're way too powerful like that. So then they went full into their divide and conquer shit. And now, 15, 20 years later, we're starting to see that kind of head back where people that are more left-wing or kind of centrist, not maybe even apolitical, are meeting minds with right-wing people, because when you look at what's happening economically, there is something going on with these central banks, and it actually has nothing to do with Jews. It's just the central bank system globally, and this globalization that we live under in the economies and stuff like that, that's been purposely fucking over the middle and lower classes of our society for decades. And it's to me, the economic issue is the most powerful. It's like where we can bring the right wing and the left wing together, because we are all being fucked by this, international elite society who's basically doing all these things to the detriment of us, but for the benefit of their bottom line.
I agree with that, though. Like, I think that convergence can happen, but the people who come over in order to consolidate, they have to not be afraid of the buzzwords and all the labels that will come at them, right? Political correctness, because that is the main tool that the system uses in order to dissuade this kind of convergence and this kind of unification from happening. It's why it went from like a leftist economic issue to racial issues in the early 2010s with stuff like Black Lives Matter, especially starting from the Trayvon thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then what they've done too is they've so indoctrinated most of the left-wing people who were formerly like at least open-minded about a lot of issues, where they are now agreeing with war. The people that used to be anti-war, the people that were the most vocal against the Iraq war and George Bush is a piece of shit and he's evil and all this stuff, now they are like totally for war against Russia. They love Ukraine. They're on board with all of the major talking points in regards to that. And it's like they've completely lost all of the what is it? There's a word for what I'm looking for right now. Like ability to see through the lies and see through the bullshit and the propaganda and all that. Like I think about bands like Rage Against the Machine. I was a little kid when I was listening to Rage Against the Machine, and I loved their music because it was anti-establishment. I love punk rock. I've been punk like my whole life. I love punk because it's like this anti-establishment, anti-authority, like dissident kind of music where it's like at a time punk rock was dangerous, and to be a punk, meant something. You were an outcast in society, and you were really taking.
Was it ever though? Like even Sid Vicious and those guys, I feel like they were just. I feel like a lot of it is just a LARP, and now, like ironically, 40 years later, John Lydon from the Sex Pistols supports Brexit, and he's like somewhat of an outcast and not even.
I think there's always been an element of like left wing shit in punk music and stuff like that, but I'm more so talking about like the philosophy of it. Like
I get.
When I look at the philosophy of some of that early underground, especially punk stuff, where it was like it was trying to fight against the conformist nature of society and being unique and individual and putting the individual first, and like a lot of that dressing like with a mohawk and all that stuff, it wasn't just to be shocking necessarily. A lot of it was to be like to show your individuality amongst a crowd of people that are all dressing the same and looking like college Republicans now with their suits and ties going to their yuppie jobs. And like there was a time when that actually meant something, and it wasn't so easy to just do that. Nowadays, like goth culture and emo kids, it's like it's mainstream as fuck.
It's a fashion statement.
Right, exactly.
TikTok trend.
For me, the ethics of that underground music and even bands like Rage Against the Machine, it was like very fuck you to the system and fuck you to authority. And I love that, right? And then now those same people are kissing the boots of the government. They're quadruple vaxxed. They're completely on board with the war in Ukraine when they were against the war in Iraq. And it's like, what the fuck happened to you guys? Like, I've stayed the same. What happened to you?
It's so funny here because I actually have somebody just brought up a personal example of exactly what you're talking about in the chat. Like Gross Patat asked me if I remember the Scally Cap Rats. Yeah, I remember the Scally Cap Rats. They were my friends. They were in an oi band, right? So like punk band. And these guys were all against the system. And then so Kurt Phillips had a Twitter thread about me, and my old buddy comments like, I can't believe I was ever friends with this fucking guy, right? And he's all fucking suck the dick of the government, the convoy's bad, they're all racist, blah, you know what I mean? It's like, you absolute cuck. And the hilarious part of this is that years ago in Montreal, we were at a 2-day punk rock festival type thing, right? Oi festival. And there's a lot of a lot of Antifa in Montreal, and they actually have a band, 4 of them. I forget the name of it, but these guys were called Redskins. That's how they refer to themselves. It's a communist skinheads, right? Left-wing skinheads. If you're not familiar, skinhead is not a Nazi. The culture comes from, Jamaican immigrants. So anyways, I don't want to get into this whole thing, but this guy that is now, selling me out and saying, like, I can't believe I was ever friends with this guy, had the shit kicked out of him because he was friends with a guy from Toronto who booked another band that is apparently dodgy. Okay? So he got the shit beat out of him for being friends with a guy who allegedly booked a band that is allegedly, has some racist stuff in their music. So they beat the shit out of him. And I stood up for him. And now years later, he's on the side of Antifa. This is what happened to the punks. They all became fucking establishment shills.
Yeah, what I find really interesting is, like, if I'll go to a local punk show, I'll be there and I look like a regular guy. I've got a baseball hat on and I'm just wearing like a t-shirt and some jeans or whatever. And everyone else in there looks the exact same. They're all like mohawked up and wearing all of the punk clothes. And it's like, this is the complete opposite of what like the movement is. It's like, I'm the actual punk in there because I'm the only one dressing like by myself. All of you are fitting into the stereotype of what a punk person should look like. And then all of your lyrics are like the exact same. You're screaming about like Trump and, racist people and all this kind of shit. And I just find that like the punk movement basically has gone from being anti-conformity to being completely conformist. You know what I mean? Like it was supposed to be about individuality and freedom of thought and like fuck the system and all that kind of shit, and they've completely sold out. Every single one of them is sold out, and they don't.
I remember 5-6 years ago, Paul Joseph Watson made a video. Conservatives are the new countercultural, like the new punk counterculture or whatever. And I rolled my eyes at it, but he was kind of right. But it's not conservatives; it's the dissident right. Because whatever the conservatives are, that's not. There's nothing really there. Like maybe if you really like actual conservatives, yes. But
I saw great. It wasn't I think it was a 4chan post, or it was something like that. Or no, it was just a Twitter post, and it was like, it must suck to be a conservative because all the left wing calls you fucking racist, xenophobic, like insert pejoratives. And then all the real, like, nationalists and the actual right wing thinks you're just a boomer retard. It must suck being a normie con sometimes and just being like shit on by both sides. They're the new center. That's the reality of it. Conservatives, the people who call themselves conservatives are actually the center now. They're not conservative. They don't conserve anything. They're the center. They're in between the actual right and the left.
Canada are just so afraid of being called racist or like called anything negative all the time. Like I feel like they're always arguing from a position of weakness where every single issue they get involved in, they're just like, well, but no, I'm not actually, no, but they can never like actually take a hard stance. Like, and you see it with Pierre, like he comes out and he's like always on Facebook and all these other social media platforms, like at some random cultural event for some culture that's not our culture, he's always like, oh, happy Diwali and happy this holiday for the Muslims and this holiday for the Jews, and trying to show, oh, yeah, I'm not racist, look, I'm like you guys, I love your holidays and we need more immigration and all this kind of shit. And it's like, your voter base doesn't want that, you know what I mean? I don't know about you guys, but where I live, every single conservative type person talks about the Toronto people all the time. They talk about Toronto people, Brampton people. Oh yeah, I was at the beach the other day and all these Brampton people showed up. Well, what do you think Brampton people means, right? But the conservatives here, they're so afraid.
Cityots, bro, they're just cityots.
Yeah, oh yeah, the cityots. That's another one. All these city people are coming up. What do you mean city people? I know what they mean. You know what they mean. But they're too afraid to come out and say what they mean. And like,
this is exact. I don't know if you guys saw the clip. I think it was from yesterday of Pierre, where he, the media finally is trying to like trap him and like, pin him down about Christine Anderson and get some answers about what his actual position is in regards to what happened. And he immediately like, it's so fucking pathetic.
What
He
did
immediately
do?
flips
I've
to.
not seen this.
Okay, well, he immediately, when he's asked about Christine Anderson and what his views are, he says, my MPs have apologized, but let me be clear. I can say for sure that I have never dressed up in blackface so many times that I forgot the number.
Oh my god, the deflection! You can never. Oh my!
People are
like deflection.
People are like celebrating that, like the boomer conservatives, the normie cons, are saying like, "Oh yeah, that's how you do it. You flip it around, dude. You've been using that same talking point for years. At this point, guess what? It doesn't work. No one cares." What you're trying to do is basically play this game. You're playing a woke, Olympics here, where I'm going to explain to you how they're more racist than I am. That's what we need to do. We need people to know that they're the real racist, not us. No, you need to stop. You're playing their game. You're playing exactly the way they want you to. So instead of doing that, what you should be doing is saying like, it's a nonsense argument. To say that Christine Anderson is racist is just a vile accusation with no substance to it. And then get into it with him with that. But he'll never do that because that's hard.
Can we do a bit of a role play here? So I had a confrontation with Karima Saeed, but it got cut off at the point where I was about to say something potentially controversial, and she even posted what she was going to follow up with. So just for context, this was me at the Pierre Poilievre rally on Friday, and I see Karima getting kicked out, and I kind of know what's going on. So I pull out my own phone, and I'm like, I have to get in on this somehow. I don't know.
What is this? They're kicking you out?
Yes.
Why?
They don't like my Twitter account, is what he said.
I feel like all of this seems very stunted, like we were like going by a script, but I was just kind of nervous, and I was like, I need to get in on this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna go.
Interesting. Were you like inciting violence or anything against them?
Never, nothing like that. You can follow me, Karima Rules. CA.
Scooter girl. That was weird because I know who you are, and I was like,
I could see it in your head. You're like, oh, do I admit that I know who she is?
It's like I'm trying to be genuine. I want to get to the brass tacks, right?
Yeah, your shit-eating grin in the video.
And I'm like, I can't help but smile on most things that I do, like I'm just a happy fucking smiley guy when I'm talking about this.
I've seen you roll up on your scooter to some rallies, and they go, "Oh, Scooter Girl's here." We go, "Scoot your ass on out of here. We don't like her."
You know what though? I've been able to make.
We don't like your guy.
But that is true. Like, this is the video I had in mind, and this video fucking kills me.
I've been here in a while.
So she rolls up.
Start something. Oh, Scooter Boy's here. Everybody, Scooter Boy's here. They're going to start something to get you and Scooter Girl. Pay close attention.
The psyop is here.
The boomer waffin.
There's a setup.
The scooter psyop versus the boomer waffin.
It's a setup.
Setup. Allahu scoop bar. It just explodes. Pure jihad
it's a
from
setup
Karima.
like they did at the police station. Get the hell out of here. Scooter Boy's here. Scooter Girl's here. It's a setup. Be careful. Be careful.
Hey, bud, you're kind of walking the fucking road.
Yeah, so how could I not bring that up? But anyways, back to the video.
Make some friends, so it's not universal hatred towards me anymore. I'm not that bad. He thinks I am, but
I like this filming style. They're really intense.
it's
Yeah, that guy does come right up to your face and films you, which I like because it's going to elicit a reaction of some sort. And it's like, yeah, put people on the spot, get some fucking good content out of it.
Because it's a loud room, right? So we want to get the volume properly. It's not meant to be
And that
intimidating.
too, right?
I don't think he's a big guy.
I think this is interesting though, but it's like I'm assuming you're more from the left, and it's like it seems like Pierre's campaign is against free speech in some ways.
I feel that very strongly. You know what? I never attack him as a person. Like, I would never call him names. I don't even call him PP. Like, that's not my jam. It's frustrating.
I said I do, but you couldn't hear it because I was laughing.
That's why we're going to get information on who to contact. Hopefully he doesn't come back with police. That happened once. I
hope I don't get kicked out either.
Well,
I'm coming a bit more from the right side, asking why he denounced someone like Christine Anderson, even though he couldn't even say it himself. You got to get it through like Brian Lilly, of all people, to put it out there.
what do you know about Christine Anderson? Are you a fan of hers? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I've seen what she said, and I think it was in European Parliament, and I agree with what she was saying there. And
do you know about her other views, or is that less?
Do you know that she's a
racist? So, where did she post? She has it somewhere down here. I was gonna bring up this
Islam to be. I do not consider Islam to be a religion, much less a religion of peace. It's actually a religion of submission.
Okay, so I believe Islam is a legitimate religion. Yeah, it's probably a religion of submission, but I don't think I exactly have the same opinion as her from the start on that, but I respect it.
I seriously have a problem with Islam. I'm not Islamophobe. On the contrary, I'm not afraid of Islam. What I'm afraid of is that Islam, and I consider it that to be, the Islam is a misogynistic, dehumanizing, and ideology. It's not a religion, at least not by our standard of what a religion should be.
Okay, so I don't know if, like, whether you're categorizing it as a religion or not. I think that, if it's something that works for them in their countries, I'm not going to be the one to judge that and say it's misogynistic, especially if there are women over there are okay with that too in many instances. Like, they say that us telling them that the hijab is misogynistic, and then they say we're Islamophobic. I think that's a fundamental difference. So, like, I think that requires some distancing from each other if that's the case.
I don't know. I think what she's really getting at here is that Islam inherently lends itself to theocracies.
It's a political ideology.
Yes, is that like, yes, it's a religion, but it ends up manifesting as a political ideology and then creating theocracies. Like, for example, is there a country in the Islamic world that's actually secular? I don't think so. I can't think of one off the top of my head. There probably is some examples here, but you can also point to a bunch of, like, how many Islamic theocracies are there in the world? Dozens. So, like,
well, like, all of the Arab countries are Muslim theocracies.
Exactly. So if that's the
birthplace of the religion, so I'm going to take their word for it.
If that's what she's getting at, I understand what she's saying. And then I think there's a really, I've made this point a few times now, but there's a really interesting angle to the way that Pierre reacted to this, which is, so the big buzz, the gotcha quote they have from Christine Anderson was something along the lines of, like, she had said something that Islam is misogynistic and it is the reason that women and girls are oppressed in Afghanistan, something along the lines of that. She was talking about Afghanistan. And so, like, if you're going to say that Christine Anderson is Islamophobic and anti-Islamic because she has these views on, Islamic theocracies, then how dare you, Pierre, then turn around and support the Iranian women's protests? You're literally supporting the thing that you're criticizing her for saying. Do you see what I mean? Like all the major parties, all of them are shilling, and pandering to these Iranian protests. I don't even know what's going on there, right? I haven't heard anything about it recently, but like a couple months ago, Pierre was fucking marching in protest against an Islamic theocracy, right, for how they treat women. And then a couple months later, he's talking about how Christine Anderson is a vile Islamophobe. What are you doing, man?
Well, it's like these people have actually deluded themselves into thinking that there's a difference between what goes on in a country like Iran or Afghanistan in terms of, their treatment of women and the actual religion itself, which is a bunch of horseshit. The religion influences the people. And when you live in a country like Iran or Afghanistan, where 99.9% of people are Muslim, the Muslim faith that they have tends to be more extreme over there, and it translates into real world shit, like real world policies that the government institutes on people. There's like a poll that came out a few years ago, and it was like most people in Afghanistan thought that Muslims should be like executed by beheading or something crazy like that. And it's like, okay, well, you have a country like Afghanistan, 99% Muslim, and most of them think that gays should be killed by beheading, and then you're saying you're trying to like justify that somehow. It's like their faith is a really old faith, and they have some very barbaric practices and barbaric views, and they don't have like a legal system that defends people's liberty the way that ours does. And that's what it's going to happen, and the other thing is they like to always talk about democracy. Okay, well, if you live in a democracy that's 99% Muslim, that means 99% of people vote to do things like cover women's, heads when they're out in public. And that's democracy. It's democratic. So, like, I don't know. To me, Islam has some serious problems, and these politicians they don't want to actually acknowledge the fact that Islam is a fucked up religion.
I agree that, yes, Islam is kind of a messed up religion. And it is odd that there's kind of a resurgence with people like Andrew Tate, where like it's coming as like an anti-woke kind of thing. So I could see that kind of allure to it, like a returned kind of tradition. But at the same time, when it comes to like Christine Anderson in her specific context in Germany, so you just think about her role in the Alternative for Deutschland, and in 2016. In Cologne, Germany, on their New Year's Eve celebrations, there was over 1,000 women sexually assaulted in one night by recent migrants. Millions just come in over the years. And how do you explain that? Like, whether it's Islam, the religion, or it's these migrants coming in from a different culture where that kind of thing is acceptable. Like, and I can imagine that Islam sees that women should have hijabs or niqabs or whatever it is. They should be modest. And then when these Muslim migrants see other women that are not wearing these things, they see them as immodest and acceptable targets of their abuse. Yes, and I think that is something that is rooted in Islam. But I also think at the same time, the fact that you're bringing these migrants from North Africa or Pakistan or wherever they're from, I don't know exactly, but these things are common there, whether it's Islam or Christianity. And I think somebody like Christine Anderson doesn't really touch upon that. So I would kind of move it a bit away from specifically Islam.
Well, I'll disagree with you when you don't bring Christianity. I wouldn't bring Christianity into raping people because like it's explicitly a sin.
Christianity does not endorse this in any way. I'm not saying like Islam definitely gives an open door to these kind of things.
Yes.
And I don't think Christianity necessarily does, but I also think it's the people who are using it. Like, I don't think that in Qatar or in certain more well-off places where they practice Islam that they're doing these kind of things. Or
what happens is I understand what you're saying. There is I think there's an IQ aspect that goes on a lot. Like, for example, a country like Pakistan has a much lower IQ than a country like Saudi Arabia or Qatar or the United Arab Emirates or whatever. So the people in Pakistan in general are more like poor, and when you get to that spot around 80 IQ, there's like an increase in aggressiveness and violence and stuff like that. So there's definitely an aspect of that. But then when you look at what the Islamic faith teaches about women, right, they're very like oppressive, and like they view women as like second class, people, like maybe not even like on the same caliber as men. Like they're very like cruel about it, almost. Like look at what they do to women in a lot of these countries. They make them wear a fucking black robe completely covered head to toe in the fucking middle of the desert where it's 45 degrees. That's to like weigh you down, man, and just make you feel like shit. You're outside in public, this hot sun is beaming down on your black robe that's covering your entire body. You're just boiling in there. It's like every single part of their culture is designed to keep women down and make them feel like shit. And a lot of these Muslim countries also have like polygamy laws where the husband, he's allowed to have like, 10 wives. You look at some of the kings of Saudi Arabia, they have like fucking 20, 30, 40 wives. And so the women are just supposed to be like one partner and that's their man. But then the guys, 40 wives. So that's why I think a lot of these Andrew Tate guys like the appeal and the allure of Islam is like, oh, well, I can have my harem with all my women and it's perfectly okay. But I think a lot of that's like very superficial, and they're not actually looking at what Islam is as an actual religion itself. They're just looking at like, oh, well, men are on top, women are on the bottom. I have all these wives. Life's great for me. It's the perfect, dream.
Yeah, it really is a surface level.
I agree with that analysis. Yeah, I don't think Andrew Tate's very genuine in his Islamic fucking
practice, so-called.
All right, guys, I gotta jump out here, but I'll keep listening.
It's good seeing you.
All right, thanks for coming on.
Peace, man.
All right, let's hear what else she has to say.
Our understanding of religion is actually that love, compassion, forgiveness, and eternal life. That's our understanding of religion. That, however, does not apply to Islam, at least not if you really look into this ideology. By no stretch of the imagination would you actually consider that a religion. It's kind of like while communism claims to be some kind of a governing mechanism, which it's not, it's a religion, but Islam posing as a religion is exactly that. It's a state ideology.
It seems like she's saying it's not a religion if it has like an authoritarian ruling over the people in the society. And I get her point there. And like, obviously I would not be down for that. And I agree with her essentially, though I don't necessarily think that the ideology of like, whether it's a religion or ideology, I don't think that's the crux of the issue when you're bringing millions of migrants into a country. I think it's more so like a mixture of the culture, the religion, and the biology, which no one wants to talk about. Like, if you're bringing people in from different places of Africa, like, look at what the kind of society that they have built. And then it definitely, or not definitely, but very likely, if you bring them over to another place where they have more chance to prosper, they will do much better, right? But they're still going to cap off at a certain point. And I think people don't really take that into account. No one wants to talk about that, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that no one wants to talk about is that Islam is only part of the issue, and there is another Abrahamic religion that feeds into this migrant crisis, as well as the cultural differences between, raping women and whatnot. It's not only permissible in Islamic ideology and culture, but as well as Jewish ideology. If you look into what they say in the Talmud and stuff, I mean, I think just focusing on Islam is sort of
I definitely
a greater
agree.
picture.
Okay, so I would say in regards to that, yes, it does have a lot of heinous lines within the Talmud, but you also have to look at how are people practicing it? Are there Jews going around going like, oh, it's okay to
I do.
You know what I mean? And that's not reality.
It manifests in
its
a
way.
different outlet
Yes,
because what happens with porn is extremely degenerative and destructive to our society. how many of your people's daughters, how many of your you know what I mean, daughters and wives, this, that, and the other, are now going on OnlyFans and stuff like this, and you see the complete degeneration of our society. Maybe it's not a million migrants coming over and raping 1,000 women in a night.
It's Rachel Gilmore, you know.
It's absolutely robbing, I think, much more than 1,000 women a night souls, taking souls and Goggins level. But I think it's honestly more destructive, but in a less obvious way to people. It's not as and sorry, I'm all zonked out on acetaminophen and horse tranquilizer, but
nice,
you know, I think it is a little bit more destructive, a little bit more covert, maybe you could say, but I think it needs to be addressed.
Islam and Judaism, like I see some people in the chat saying, you know, trying to basically defend Islam, and that's fine. There are some elements of Islam and Judaism, you know, that are fine from a Christian perspective. As a Christian myself, you know, I look at a Muslim family, and it's like often they have very tight families. That, you know, their mother stays home and takes care of the kids. That's great. I totally agree with that as a Christian. And there's a lot of elements in a lot of the Jewish community where they have those same things. My problem is we are a Christian society here, and when you bring in a bunch of people that are Muslims and a bunch of people that are Jews, those nuances that make their religions different than ours become very evident. And you see that in the European situation with the rapes and the sexual assaults and stuff, because the way that the Muslim men look at you know, a woman who may be from the West dressed a bit promiscuous, right? They look at that as like a target, whereas our society, being so degenerate as it is, you know, completely normal. It's like normal, and you see a girl walking down the street in pretty much a swimsuit, and it's not a big deal. No one really thinks anything of it. But in like a repressive sexual culture like Islam, that like excites the fuck out of them, and they just go batshit bananas. So I think the biggest thing we need to do is separate. You know, we need to be separate. If the Muslims want to do their shit, they can do their shit. I don't care what happens in Saudi Arabia.
Over there,
you know, like over there. If a girl wants to work out at the gym with some sexy tights, you know, I'm gonna like look once and then get back to my business.
Remember
I'm not gonna be like, ooh, she deserves, like, she's not modest, and then fixate upon it, and like leer over her.
Her father would definitely want me to honor rape her.
Remember the beach pool we went to? It was all the boys hanging out. You don't see, like, you know, these people hanging. Everybody, when they go to the beach, they kind of do their own thing, you know? You kind of naturally, there's a natural order to things. We ended up playing a volleyball game against a bunch of, we lost, dude. We took a big L.
It was a big L.
We lost against the Indians.
Yeah, it was.
Yo, have you guys ever gone to the beach when Muslims are there? All the men are in the water. It's like 33 degrees outside. They're in the water cooling off. All their women are like sitting on the beach and their fucking burkas just roasting like a shish kebab.
Sounds like a good place to go pick up some
chicks, try some pickups.
You know, get the boys together, show up to the beach.
There's
you know, you look a lot better without that on you.
There's something in Islam where the Muslim women can't go in the water. So, like, I'm dead serious. I've been at the beach, and there's like 20 Muslim women just sitting on the beach, all in their robes, and they're not allowed to go in the water. It's hot as fuck. Their husbands are in there swimming around. Everything's great, and they're just sitting there because they can't go in the water. It's so fucked up, man. Like,
I could see, like, me saving some of them. Like, we cook up some kind of scenario where it's just like I bring my own robe and then we switch. So then I'm sitting there with all the niqab robes, and then they just go out into the water and they do their own thing.
You just pop it off.
Edgy frees the Muslim woman from their oppression. And they say I'm the racist. God damn.
That's not bad content. We could arrange that.
I actually saw this from an episode of Community.
Oh, yo, we pissed off Lee Stewie because she's saying that she's harassed every time she goes to the grocery store, which I actually believe. So I'm sorry, Lee. We're just making light of it. We're not trying to say that, you know, it's not hard being a woman and having to deal with the harassment from the Muslim migrants. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I'm only human. I can only defend against so much and have a good spirit about it, right? But yeah, it is a serious problem, and it takes somebody being called a racist in order to push back against it.
I just thought of something. Where's all the white knight guys about the like Muslim rape crisis?
Surprisingly quiet on that.
You know what I mean? It's not when they're not coming to the rescue, being like, "Oh, all these women are getting raped by migrants." Where's the white knights for that?
Okay, I wanna bring it up on Wikipedia.
Maybe there is.
You,
But
bro.
I
You're
was
destined to be the white.
I'll fucking stand at Roxham Road with my fucking shirt off. I'll be like,
engage.
"You shall not pass." Let's go.
It's truly the only way.
So number of perpetrators over 2,000. So around 650 sexual assaults in one night, 22.
Ooh.
And this is the 2015 to 16 New Year's Eve sexual assaults in Germany.
How many? How many? What was it?
Here, well, it's right there.
260.
I can't see.
I can't see.
Here, let me share it again. I wasn't sharing it there. So, I don't know. I feel like they changed the layout to make it less obvious, but around 650 in Cologne alone, including
650,
20
not
in
one
night.
less. Not one less.
Yeah. Do not deny that.
Do not deny the 650.
Like, how is this even possible? How does this happen? Like, it's
Well,
like
it
they
happened.
coordinated. Where were all the people, like all the intelligence agencies who should have been proactively looking at this? Supposedly, they go after all the right-wing people in Germany. You could spend 5 years in jail, and many people have, for Holocaust denial in Germany. Yet, a mass mob action of rape like this happens over there in one night. Insane.
It's absurd. It's truly absurd. Like it.
Oh, and then there's the cover up, right? The media saying like, "Oh, don't make this a thing about Islam or migrants or racism or anything." Like
it has nothing.
It's toxic masculinity, if anything. Okay.
Bring back toxic masculinity. That's good.
I see Tyler in the chat. He's mentioning that the Muslims at least appreciate Jesus, and that is true. Unlike the Jews who believe that Jesus is burning in a pit of piss and shit in eternity, the Muslims actually think Jesus was a prophet and a good guy. So I'll give them that for sure. But like I said, I just think there's a problem when you have tons of people from the Islamic world coming over to our countries. I think there's a cultural difference, and it leads to issues. And while I can agree that the Western society and modern women here in our Western society are a little bit too far to a certain degree, like they're not modest enough. I definitely think that they're too hypersexualized. I think that there's a lot of issues with feminism and things like that. I also think that the Muslim approach is too far extreme the other way. I've seen that living in like hyper religious community myself, where women are like having to wear a certain type of clothes and they're tasked with certain things, and they're not presented with the same level of freedom as men are in certain aspects. And what happens is when you repress people like that, eventually they flee somewhere where then they go to the other extreme. So I've seen women that grew up in this hyper religious community. It's kind of like Amish kind of style community. They grow up in that, and then when they leave, they rebel against what they've learned, and they throw the entire baby out with the bathwater because they were so forcefully repressed. And then they go so far into the world that they end up being porn stars or drug addicts or whatever. So I think there's a balance where you need to like raise women to be different from men. They need to be more modest. They need to be treated in a different way than men, but not in a lesser way. They aren't, women and men aren't the same, but I don't think that it means you denigrate women the way that the Muslims do.
Equal but separate.
Yeah, exactly. Like Phil has a good point here, where it's a little too far the other way, and I don't think that embracing Islam is necessarily the answer. Our culture is not to the point where it's irreparable to where we need to embrace Islam for those reasons, where it's like, roll back the clock a couple decades before this crazy radical feminism and whatnot. We had it pretty fucking good here. The West was, like, we don't need to, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Be like, we're Islamic now because women need to be treated like they're fucking whores and whatnot. It's just like
it requires clarity
Yeah.
of being able to pinpoint where exactly the problems are, and you could see it coming top down from the central banks and the way that they control information. And one of the easiest ways to see how they control information is to see who you're not allowed to talk about. When you state a fact, when is it considered hate speech, even though you very well know that it's a fact that you're stating? And then you have to stick to that and just keep on harping on that and, trying to be able to push the Overton windows so that truth can see the light.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Tyler says women shouldn't have the same level of freedom as men. That's literally feminism. So, like, I agree, and I agree to an extent. I'm not sure exactly how far you mean. Like, I think there's a balance between women having their role in society and men having their role, and not allowing women to have freedom, if you know what I mean. Like, I think the world was probably a better place when women weren't voting and weren't working. And I think our family units were tighter, more well connected. I think that the children were raised better, all that kind of stuff. So I agree with that. But I also don't think that some woman who never got married and never had kids should not be able to work. Like, I think you have to have a balance. And I think people should have personal freedom to choose these things. But I think as a society, it would be better if our wives chose to stay home. Like, I have a wife and I have a son, and my wife stays home with our children, and I take care of our family financially. And like, that's all by choice. Like, we choose to do that for the betterment of our family. And I think that our society should be able and smart enough to choose that for themselves. Unfortunately, I don't know if we are at this point, but ideally that's a choice that people can make. Because my wife doesn't feel like she's a slave because this is her choice to be a mother to our children. And at the same time, I don't feel like I have like a big burden where, I come home, or I work from home, but like, my house is taken care of, everything's taken care of, my son's taken care of. I don't have to worry about that. It's like, we're both doing this together. It's a partnership, and she has her role, I have my role. And I think that's like the healthy
way there's something beautiful about that. That's what our society was founded on. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, so what do you think, Phil? First off, I want to say I have pinned in the YouTube chat, the only chat we have going up, Shane's Give, Send, Go. So if you want to donate in any way, it'll really help him. He's a hardworking man. He works a full-time job. He's not grifting or anything. It will help contribute to paying off his lawyer for his situation.
I really appreciate it.
So I have that pinned in the YouTube chat. But as far as the conversation here, Elise Dewey made a good point. She said, hot take, lazy men are creating feminists. And I think this is a great discussion.
Delete your local simp.
Yes.
Delete your local simp. Weak men are such a fucking issue in our society.
Yeah, right. I think I love like the whole Christian futurism. I think that's kind of the key. Is it's about you gotta build strong men, strong nations, right?
Yeah.
Well, I do think as far as people LARPing and talking tough as, women need to do this and that and that and that. And it's just like, okay, well, are you going to provide all the money so that they could stay home and they could work full time and live like a life that is not struggling hardcore to the point where they do need to get a job?
People that scream freedom but don't want to grow a potato. It's like, you got to put in work to get freedom. Like, you don't just.
And things are getting harder and harder now, where you have to have almost two incomes at this point. So how are you going to demand? How are you going to demand that kind of like subservience if you're in the situation to begin with?
That's a huge point, I think, and I don't want to get into a big economic post, but it's like,
excuse me.
they, like, they basically made it so it's like, you fucking go work in your factory job, you stupid little goy, and you're gonna work there all fucking week and have no time to come and spend with your family. And then we're gonna inflate the fucking economy so that it's just like you can't have this American dream anymore. It's fucking dead.
It's over.
You know what I mean? It's like for some people, fortunate enough, like there's still good families out there, but a lot of young men. Why do you think young men are in crazy numbers? Just like, fuck this. This is all fucked. It's you know what I mean? It's like if you have two fucking brain cells to rub together, you're like, this equation doesn't work out. Like there's no future for me to have a family in this society. Like, I mean, there's so many more factors than that, you know, like mental health and this, that, and the other. Like, it's all fucked.
It's really narrowing the walls of who is like a reasonable partner and how you could go forth in making a family. They're really closing the walls in on everybody.
That's a good way to put it.
Right? Because it's not impossible. And, you know, some people who are like black pillars with this like red pill manosphere shit, they'll be like, never trust any woman, no matter what or whatever. And they like take it way too literally.
You need to find a good woman that you can build something with.
Right. But they are pushing the walls in, and it's a real thing. And
are slim, man.
And it's like putting the fire to the feet of everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, the economic aspect of it is really hard. Like I have to work 2 jobs to be able to support my family. Now I'm very fortunate. Some people have to work physical labor jobs. I'm lucky I get to work from a computer. So it's not as bad as, you know, if I was doing 2 construction jobs or something crazy like that. But I have to work 2 jobs to, you know, make up for the fact that my wife doesn't work. And well, yeah, respect to you boys in the blue collar trades. It's actual hard work. But my point is like most people aren't in the fortunate situation where they can work even 2 jobs. Like some people, they got 1 job, maybe it pays like $25 an hour or something, and like it's better than minimum wage, but it's still not enough to like take care of 2 people and rent and all the bills and a kid. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are in that really shitty situation where their wife then has to work because they need the money to pay for their bills, and then their kid has to go to daycare or be raised by the state, which is just
that's
a nightmare.
Yep.
Boiling Frog is saying, we don't care about your job. We want low body count, respect, and loyalty. And that's true. That's true. But like, you have to be able to support her if you don't care about her job, like to the fullest, so that she could live like a full actualized life with a family and kids. And that's the thing that's being choked out right now. Like many years ago, the boomers, from what I understand, if they had a normal job that like a guy even with like an average or less than average IQ could easily get, he could support his whole family, and they could have many kids, and they could maybe have a cottage. They could have all these opportunities, but that has been choked out. And now it's like we have to create new relationships with people based on new understandings that are unprecedented at this point. Like it's not always going to be what ideal, but at the same time, you have to watch out for these obvious red flags. People who really don't get what's going on.
Man,
I can give you a perfect example.
I know what segment we're getting into.
Okay, so just to throw back to Scott Adams, remember his recent blowout with the media. He said, I'm tired of helping black people. They're a hate group. My advice to white people is to get the hell away. Just get the fuck away, right? Get the fuck away from them, right? There's a certain type of woman that I've learned more and more about. I haven't experienced firsthand in a relationship. I've like encountered them in certain ways, but never been in a relationship. But women who have borderline personality disorder.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Very draining. Very dangerous and draining.
Watch out.
In more ways than one. Draining in many ways.
So I've heard about this over and over again, and then it became a recurring theme. And I try to understand what is exactly going on with that. And it seems like that these, especially, it's a woman thing, especially, but they don't really have a personality of their own. So they love bomb you and they get you attached to them by just being exactly what you think they'd want you to be. And then they lure you in, and then you soon find out, or you don't find out, and you just go through it the hard way. But basically, they're like all the worst emotions of women, but that is the person, is the crazy woman emotions of justifying every behavior that they do and pinning it on you. And it just it just wraps you up in their hellish drama. And then like once you get away, they lure you back in. And there's just a bunch of sadistic mind games that they play constantly, and it's a thing called cluster B personality types. And there's many such people. I've encountered other such types. I think narcissistic personality disorder types. And it's just some people that you really can't get along with no matter what you do. They're just unpleasant in the way that they are people. And I don't know how this sprung out of what we were talking about before, but
you just gotta get the fuck away.
You gotta get the fuck away. You gotta be able to make distinctions that are politically incorrect, and then, you know, do the best for yourself and inform your friends.
Yeah, I think it ties back into what we were talking about with like the nuclear family and mate selection and whatnot. And you know, there's obviously still really good, wholesome women out there, and you know, it'd be naive to think that there isn't. But you know, the overwhelming, you know, if you go on Tinder, which I wouldn't recommend, it's terrible. You know, you're gonna see the craziest shit. Like it's very black pilling seeing what like the current state of potential mate selection is in society, and it's, you know, ties back into the degradation of our culture and OnlyFans and all this, and go
to church. That's that's the
church.
key. I know people say don't go to, you know, you shouldn't go to church to get girls, but I mean, what better place to get
literally
real?
Okay, I have a point to tie this back to what we were talking about before. I'm gonna reel it in. So the reason I bring this up, and these crazy women, is because we are living in a increasingly schizophrenic society where they're promoting like not nuclear family. They're promoting alternative families. Like I remember BLM specifically was against the nuclear family for some reason, even though the black community, their biggest problem, culturally speaking, is that like 70 or 80% of the children are born without fathers. If you look at these people who are mentally ill, and especially these cluster B personality type disorders where they have like extreme narcissism, sociopathy, or like BPD, it's because they were neglected, abused. They didn't have the dad to begin with.
It's like weak men again.
And then you're getting all these mixed messages in society, and then you wonder why everyone's fucked up, right? And then you're also at the same time supposed to accept everybody for their flaws, but that just leaves you susceptible to getting fucking taken advantage of by predators, whether they're mean to do it or not. Doesn't matter.
They'll get you. The predators
get you.
The predators will get you.
Well, Edgy.
Well,
yeah. What's the next topic here? Let's keep this show moving.
Well, I'm gonna go take a piss and I'll leave you
guys. The bladder strikes again.
The eternal pisser just leaves. Yeah. Okay. Well, I do have. Let's go for another. We've been going for 2 hours. Let's go 2.5 to 3 hours. You guys down? Got some energy?
Yeah. I'm feeling all right.
Acetaminophen, horse tranquilizers. All right. Okay. So I'll leave you. Come on, Phil. Come up with a topic. I need to go take a piss. I'll be right back, and I'll think of something. Okay.
Oh my god.
I have a lot of stuff here, though.
Okay. All right.
Good night, Tofu 07s. He's got to go to bed. Nighty night. brother.
Thanks for everyone.
So, Shane, just walk me through like the whole situation today a little bit. I caught the intro of the stream, but I don't know if I missed anything. So, you showed up at the courthouse. You walk in, you got your supporters there. So, like Dan and or Edgy and Scuff Loyalists and Lee and all these people, they were able to actually sit in on the trial.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's pretty
I
cool.
guess it's open to the public.
Right.
To be honest, it was not like it would have been like any other person there. Like there was other cases. You know, it did get more attention, and it was a bit longer of a case than the others, but it was just like a normal. There was nothing special particularly about like the way it was carried out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever got like a traffic ticket or something like that, but you bet it was no more busy than that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say maybe a little bit more busy because they had, you know, all the witnesses, and then there's a few journalists there, the one of the cops or whatever, but and then we had the well-meaning but outspoken Boomer Waffin lady.
Yeah. I know. She just like came up to me, so I go in there like pretty early and sit down with my lawyer, and some lady comes up to me and starts, I don't even know what she starts talking about, something about something about like being able to cross-examine the prime minister.
So she was very adamant about the right to be able to cross-examine Trudeau.
Right. And I was like, you know, nice at first, introduced myself, but then she just kept talking to me about this like court case, and I was like, okay, all right, thanks. And then she yelled out in the court
twice.
But so basically what happened was
they took you into a dark room and said,
you guys
look, why the fuck are you in the butthole now, or you can go to
the judge probably said some things, right, whatever, and then asked you how you pleaded, and then they took you into the room at that point, or like what led up to you being taken into the room with the lawyers?
I was trying to adjourn the matter so that we had time to maybe craft a constitutional challenge, and so my lawyer wasn't confident that we were going to get the adjournment at like that. He wasn't going to my lawyer wasn't confident that he was going to get the adjournment and that they were going to move forward with the trial, bringing forward like these witnesses that they had brought to the courthouse. And so there was basically either take this deal now or proceed with the trial.
It seems like they were saying that they're going to go extra hard on you if you do the trial and you make them do another court date. Like in the sense that they don't want to waste more court time, and if you make us do this, that's how it felt to me. Maybe I'm thinking of it cynically, but I think that's kind of how these court systems work.
Interesting.
One of the things that I did find particularly interesting was there was a completely reasonable case to be had from the defense to adjourn the matters due to I mean, let's not speculate, but you know, they uploaded some disclosure documents last minute, etc., and the prosecutor or the Crown, I'm not exactly sure the title, but you know, he kept trying to make the case like it doesn't even matter, like it's a moot point. That was basically his argument. It's a moot point, doesn't matter. We have to continue this matter, and it wasn't. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because it wasn't until the lady had an outburst saying, I forget exactly verbatim what she said, but she said, you know, like the defense has a right to the disclosure and to be able to cross-examine. And then you saw a complete shift in the tone of the judge. They had to take a recess after, and the judge shifted his tone. He's like, yeah, you know, legally speaking, like, you know, she is right. Like they do have you know, a right to get the disclosure and cross-examine, like, or a right to, like, you know, a fair trial and whatnot. So after she had her outburst, he was like, okay, yeah, like, you know what I mean? The prosecutor's trying to push this along. That's not necessarily like legally sound. Took a recess, came back, and then, you know, everything kind of went from there.
I can't blame her for that. God bless her. 07. She went down in history.
Yeah.
07 to crazy.
It's probably rotting in some January 6th like jail cell right now. They're like,
did she actually get arrested? I thought she just got removed from the court.
Well,
That's what it sounded like.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I've been watching a lot of court TV lately, where it's just like dad looks at the killer's at her daughter's killer, and then he smiles at him while he's being sentenced. So the dad just jumps over and like tries to choke him out. And then, he gets off easy because everyone's just like, bravo, dad, or whatever, right? So I'm watching some LARP.
What time we bringing the stream till? Like 1 p.m.?
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Yeah.
1 p.m. This is like the mega bowl.
Marathon,
let's go.
Yeah, the Pebble Bowl.
The Pebble Bowl. The Pebble Brigade.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Let's see what
we got.
Okay, so here's a thing that people have been talking a lot about lately. Somebody came to me saying that they were kind of pissed off that Ferryman was saying to all these CPC guys, like, no, vote CBC, vote Pierre. No, I want you to do it.
Yeah, we should.
Pierre, and it seems like he was endorsing an accelerationist strategy to vote CPC so that they could get in power and then they could fuck everything up. So then we could get that stage over with, right?
I just think that's going to happen anyway.
And I want to make
conclusion.
clear, accelerationism in the sense is just like making things happen quicker by like letting something potentially worse happen. Or like making the enemy play their hand more,
Not to be
right?
misconstrued.
Like maybe
violent.
like what those Goyim Defense League
Right.
guys are doing by like
But the
using
thing
their
with the
free
PPC
speech to the
is
extreme,
that you
right?
need something to replace that. You can't just always be like, yo, let's tear it all down. You got to be like, all right, well, what? Like, you got to have a solution.
Yeah,
You
I
need a
agree.
political
I agree,
solution.
I agree.
Otherwise, warfare is pointless,
So
right?
I
What's the
think
point?
I have a bit of a hybrid take on this because like I don't know, Pierre is like basically a foregone conclusion at this point. I mean, maybe not, but seems to be such. And I think that you should probably still put your vote for Team Purple, regardless if it's a foregone conclusion. But accelerationism is kind of based. Fuck it, tear it all down. But we do need some sort of institutional element or like structure, foundational element, like the PPC to rebuild or take. You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
You got to have a plan for after the fucking shit hits the
100%.
fan, right?
At least he's voting liberal.
I don't care. Honestly,
That is the original acceleration.
I don't even
It's
care
just
at
so
this
funny
point.
because Ferryman brought it to the conservatives because they are basically liberals.
A wise man, Randy Hillier, once said, "There's no political solution left in this country." I don't know if that's verbatim, but like, fuck Canada. It's so over for this country. Like
Until we're back.
done.
Until we're back.
Until we're back.
No,
I think there's one point that you made that was really good. There is that yes, we won't. It's so over, but we do need to keep building at an alternative because if everything gets torn down and society crumbles, like we think it's going to happen because of the ineptitude of the corruption and just the way that they go against nature in all regards, right? But you need to have this alternative system growing at the same time because making society collapse doesn't mean that you get in power just because you made it collapse. And that's that's where all these like insane, like the real bad accelerationists who think that just random acts of violence will kind of perpetuate the future that they want, to control over it. No, they'll get.
All right, so
we might have to get into it.
I personally, and like this is gonna be a little controversial. I don't care. I think that there is really good talent within the PPC, and I really do like Maxime Bernier. He's a solid guy.
Yeah,
but I think that at some point it would be more beneficial if a lot of the talent left the PPC and created a new party that's
I agree.
That's a little bit more on point with
And that's not
what,
to take anything away.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Maxime
like
or
that's nothing. You know, Maxim's great. There's lots of really, really good, skilled people behind him. There is also, I think, some people in his ear that steer him in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
That's, you know, a lot smaller of an amount of people than the people that are pushing him in the right direction. But nonetheless, what I'm getting at is I think there is enough people in this country with the skill sets to bring to fruition and build a foundation. Like, there is no political solution, but, like, you know, maybe one day.
Well, I think Diagolon, that's kind of the brilliant thing. It's like,
for sure.
Well, obviously, you're limited as to what. I know I've said this 1,000 times. You're limited as to what you can organize in the nation.
100%. 100%.
The nation's set up for political parties. If you believe in something, you got to be open with your beliefs, and you got to, you know, form a party and put in the work to get it done. So,
and
like,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work,
bro. We could just throw over the chessboard and be insane wingnut larping freaks. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. We'll just get the boys together and commit
Ridge, guys. All right.
All right, here. Me and Shane
The following program
this documentary the other day. Like, I had no idea what this was, but okay, I'm gonna share the screen over.
That's how we took Ottawa. We just got the boys together.
We were like, I was looking for other clips, and then I found this: how a violent neo-Nazi group sought to recruit from Canada's military. I'm like, okay, we have to watch this. So from
splitting the vote.
The cost of milk.
So from what I understand, these guys, the base in Winnipeg, they put out like random flyers saying, like, you want to save your race, join the base.
They put out
hate literature. That could get.
I'll be right back while you play this. I'm just gonna go have a smoke.
Sounds good.
In a Winnipeg park with a young reporter and a career maker.
And then one of the first people who latches onto this and becomes one of their recruits is a Winnipeg Free Press reporter. So, like, I don't know what these guys were thinking, but
scoop.
Is this guy running away? Like, oh my god! They were talking about all this crazy
This
stuff.
reminds me of Knocking.
Voice memo. I am leaving the meeting with the base, the local base member. I'm gonna try and get up everything I can remember off the top of my head.
It's August 2019, and reporter Ryan Thorpe has just had one of the most disturbing interviews of his
luring
career.
them in. That could be pretty funny.
His name's Patrick. He's about 5'10". He's a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. He is some kind of an engineer. He talked about fermenting a race war. He talked about derailing a train.
Running away. Just scared shitless, like, I got the scoop.
Yeah,
and,
I
like,
didn't
he's
leave
not
yet.
wrong.
I was listening to this. You can just hear the soy in this guy's voice.
What I want to know is why these guys were like, yes, this is a good soldier for our race war. And meanwhile, you like see him in any of these things, any of these interviews. It's like,
He wants to hijack
the base,
train.
learn, train, fight. And then you see this guy.
But it did seem to me, you know, looking at it, that this looked like kind of like a white nationalist group of some sort. And that apparently, according to these posters, was recruiting in Winnipeg. So yeah, that's all I really knew to start with.
An internet search revealed the base was indeed a white nationalist group, also a paramilitary group.
So they lured this guy in, essentially. They even took pictures with him because he needed pictures to prove even more that he was there. So I don't know if that was it. He took pictures by their train tracks. Now, I have to say their aesthetics look pretty fucking cool.
They look based.
They look based, but you know the base is not based. Let's be clear. I think this is
to do is kind of yank up one side of the rail line and.
So these guys like almost immediately are talking about derailing trains and all these fucking crazy
That's a
shit.
Female move, dude.
Yeah,
it's female energy. removing tracks.
Yeah.
We should be putting tracks down for the future
Yes.
Christian nation.
Yes. Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
The thing is that they're lumping us in with them because we want to like push forth messages that are going to make people show their hands. And they're like, oh, these guys want to derail trains. And then these guys get a lot worse than that too, which is.
These are the train tracks here that Matthews kind of openly discussed the possibility of sabotaging.
How this guy passed.
All you have to do is kind of
yank
up
it
one
shows
side.
you that they're more like they're all excited.
There's a recruiting problem.
They're all excited over their own LARP. That they're like, we got another guy. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly how that happens.
Yeah.
But this is the Canadian reservist who was behind it. So basically, this guy, that reporter Ryan Thorpe of the Winnipeg Free Press, the Winnipeg Free Press, he reports on this. He gets raided like a couple days later because of that report, and he gets out on bail. He goes to the U.S. border, ditches his truck, and now he's moved in with members of the base from the U.S. And it's like one of these neo-Nazi accelerationist, like militia wannabe terrorist
basically
type
Fight
groups.
Club.
Fight Club on crack, yeah. But then
this guy's literally Brad.
He goes and moves in with this other guy, and almost immediately they're all wiretapped. So everything about this is just like tapped to shit. Like the police know everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
By the Winnipeg Free Press, the military reservist disappeared.
The man accused of recruiting for a global neo-Nazi terrorist group goes missing. Corporal Patrick Matthews had been relieved of his duties. RCMP are investigating him for allegedly recruiting for a far-right hate group called The Base.
Months after his truck was found abandoned at the U.S.
Honestly,
border.
this is good entertainment, though. This is like stuff that I would want to see in a movie.
Oh, for sure. This would be a
No one seemed to know where he was. Not even ace reporter Ryan Thorpe.
Boys, go to.
For the longest time, it's like, okay.
We already have legal gun clubs. We have legal jujitsu gyms where you can train how to fight. You don't need to go under.
And you don't have insane people.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, you don't have like schizos and
such a schizo.
like there's actually like cleaning there, and there's like standards. Like and same thing with the parties, like these freedom movements. It's like you don't need to start a fucking like. It's like literally just get behind a party or start your own party.
I'll go on to say that these guys. So this is one of the appearances that this guy makes. So this is one of your leaders.
But mostly they talked about ways to cause that collapse.
But
there's Matthews attempting
hold on, listen.
to disguise himself with a gas mask.
If you want the white race to survive, you're going to have to do your part. Derail some trains, kill some people, and poison some water supplies. You better be ready to do those things. If not,
this is festering because free speech. Because this kind of stuff is festering because people are trying to put up statistics and say, hey, this is what happens with diversity. This is what people don't want. We need to have an open conversation about this so we could come to some reasonable conclusions. Yet they will be like, no, you're just like that guy, and we're gonna treat you like that guy. Of course, they know the difference, like the FBI or whatever. They know the difference, but they're still gonna act like it's the same thing, and they're gonna act like we are contributing to it when they are the accelerationists that are pushing people into being just absolute schizos like that. I don't think any of us are pushing people like him to be like that.
No.
Yeah, and this guy probably like blew up.
No, I completely disavow. Like, it fucking really bugs me because it's like every time you see one of these quote unquote neo-Nazi dudes, they're like these furry faggot, like extremist schizo retards. It's just like, bro, like what are you talking about?
Right, like
what
Tyler is saying literally a script. That did sound like something.
Yeah.
He was saying all the right words that would just like
just like
set off all the investigations necessary.
Just like they use the exact weapons they want to ban in these shootings.
Yeah,
and all it's so
and you're not going to be ready for what's coming.
As assistant, it's very shocking. It's shocking to listen to him talk about discussing killing African American children, to listening to the words of Adolf Hitler, to discuss wanting to bring down the United States government.
So the thing, like, one, killing. So 2 things there. Killing black children. Yes, I don't think anyone agrees with that, except for maybe this guy and his friend, and maybe like 20, 50, 100 other people who follow whatever fucking nonsense that is. And then they say, who listen to the words of Adolf Hitler. Well, Adolf Hitler was like a ruler at some time in history that captivated millions of people. I'm not justifying that. I'm just saying they're lumping all these things in together as if they're the same thing.
Imagine if the white supremacists started listening to the words of Genghis Khan.
Right?
That's probably our best
citizen.
bet, is just to
become Mongoloid.
Just basically conquer a region. I mean, that's not a bad blueprint.
Create entire new races of people.
Edgyites, Edgians.
Just potato people.
The country and wanting to contribute to violence in this country. It's
But
shocking.
anyways, yeah,
Should
this
shock
is a
everyone.
bad op.
And even more shocking was the equipment the two were accumulating. A sniper rifle, a homemade assault rifle Matthews assembled from parts, night scopes, infrared sensors, ammunition rounds by the
Sorry, what?
That's so funny. A homemade assault rifle.
Yeah,
You
I was
assembled from parts. It's like, okay, well then it's not a homemade assault rifle. Like
just an AR.
homemade, makes it seem like you like made some, like you made the barrel in your backyard with a lathe, and shit. Like homemade is like, 3D printed kind of style. Like this guy just bought gun parts and built a gun.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck? That's why they sell gun parts. What do you think they sell the gun parts? So you just keep them and
Yeah.
Somebody asked, ooh, is there a Diagolon patch? No, this was just before. So when was this released? January 6th. January 6th,
I think that was the
2022 is when the video was released. But he got originally caught in August or September 2019.
Okay.
And then he got like fully booked and put in jail in the States like several months later. But now he's serving 10 years in jail because they were like, from one day to the next, they were like plotting to kill a bunch of people. And then they'd be like, oh, now we're going to do this. So they weren't even really serious about anything, but they would LARP about it. Like, yes, we're going to do this. Oh, wait, now we're going to do this. Right.
Yeah.
And like, meanwhile, they're just getting tapped the whole time. So like anybody out there who's even thinking about this kind of strategy, like, I don't know what to tell you, but you're retarded.
you're way off
It's
the mark.
immoral, and it's not going to work either.
Learn to garden.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I mean, Ted Kaczynski was right about a lot of things.
Ted
He
Kaczynski
should have
was
just kept
right.
on gardening, man.
Yeah.
Man, I've always thought like what it must be like for Ted Kaczynski if he has access to like a TV. Like during a time like COVID, I wonder what was going through his mind. Like, 2020 early on, he was probably like, "See, I told all you motherfuckers."
Those leftists, leftists in the technocracy. That's a very prescient point that he made, saying that the acceleration and progress of technology necessitates the limitations of freedoms. And you could see that with the left and how they're trying to snuff out us bad actors in the realm of social media and whatnot, right?
I bet he's become a good friend with El Chapo, and then when shit hits the fan and a whole gang of Mexican cartel members rip up to that prison to break El Chapo out, they're gonna probably take old Uncle Ted with them and
That's the move.
bring him out. And he's probably red pilled the shit out of some of those
Pebbles,
guys.
you gotta get in there.
That's what I mean.
Mussolini style jailbreak.
Yeah, I've honestly thought about it though. Like that's supposed to be the most like high level security prison probably in the world, at least in the United States. But like, say shit hit the fan, right? To the point where like the guards aren't showing up to work because they're at home with their families, trying to protect their families and keep them afloat. Like, what happens at that prison? You know what I mean? I swear it would just be like 15 Range Rovers or Hummers or whatever, Mexican cartel members ripping up to that prison.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that might happen.
It'd be an epic movie.
I feel like the prison guards would honestly just execute everybody. I feel like that's the move. Or what are you gonna just like? You either open, like, if you're gonna leave the prison with everybody locked in it, you're not gonna be feeding them. You either open the gates and let all these rapists and killers out, or you let them starve to death, or you execute everybody, or you wait for the cartel to show up, and then the cartel is. I feel like execution's the only option.
I lost where this conversation was going a long time.
Walk it back.
This is a hypothetical. All right, we're talking hypothetical here. I vote. I vote execution.
I don't even know that it was unoptimal. I don't understand what's going on.
We're talking cartels here, boys.
We're talking about
Are we cartel? Are we cartel pilled or something?
Yeah, dude.
Yo, speaking of the cartels, did you guys hear about the Americans they captured accidentally and they ended up killing 2 of them?
Ooh.
There was like 4 American tourists that were on vacation in Mexico, and the cartels mistook them. I can't talk, but yeah, for like somebody else or whatever, and they grabbed them, and they found 2 of them dead already. I think they might have found the other 2, maybe, but yeah, 2 of them are dead, 2 of the 4. So
problem.
Mexico, yeah.
I mean, God bless them for doing their thing. Do you know what cartel it was?
I have no idea, honestly. I hear Mexican cartel. I just assume it's all one thing, I guess.
Yeah. No, I was watching. I think he was on Joe Rogan, some guy that was like a Mexican police detective. And just his stories about the Mexican cartels was fascinating. It's a pretty interesting culture down there, for sure.
The Mexican cartels are basically like our police. It's just
they're like
a little bit more, Aztec in their methods.
Yeah.
Just throw them off.
I think there's something.
Pyramid.
Yeah.
Rip their hearts out of their beating chest.
I've seen it on Reddit. Back when they used to have r/watch people die. It was back when Reddit was less cucked. You had r/watch people die, and
so that's what we grew up on, guys.
Yeah, that's what I grew up on.
Yeah,
back in my day, we had r/watch people die, and the video wasn't allowed to stay up unless somebody died.
Yeah, not this fucking Paw Patrol.
And you'd see so many fucking we call cartel, like fucking grisly murders and such things like that.
Yeah, the cartels are brutal. The shit I've seen online from down in Latin America is so fucked. Like, the only thing that like parallels the cartels is ISIS videos. Those are pretty fucked up too. But the cartels, I think it might be worse because like ISIS videos is like just evil and fucked, but like the cartels are they're like gruesome and gory.
Well, that's one of the things that this detective talked about is they praise this. It's like a skeleton Mother Mary.
Yeah.
I forget what it, but it's basically like it is kind of satanic. They
kind of praise El Chupacabra.
Something. It's like they basically. It is very Aztecish where they're like kind of like praising a false idol.
They practice Santeria.
Yeah. They ain't got no crystal balls. I know about them. Yeah. Well, let's get a bit away.
Yeah, we're gonna be executed by the cartel.
We pissed off the Muslims, the Jews, the base. We don't even know what the base is planning. Like, the Wignats are gonna come kill us in some kind of accelerationist terrorist murder, for what we've said. We pissed off the cartel. We pissed off BPD women. So guys, watch your testicles.
That's a bad one to piss off.
Well, let's look at what we can control, like in our own cities, right? Because we want to support Chris Sky, right? He could definitely red pill a lot of people if he gets more exposure, and he has more of a legitimacy that we give him through our support in a mayoral election, right? But what about the current mayor of Hamilton? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Andrea Horvath.
Oh no.
And I think that there could be some. I know Andrea Horvath, the former leader of the Ontario NDP.
Yeah.
However, her son.
I knew we were going there.
Her son, we've had some contact with them. We want to make some music videos with him. He's done some edgy things in his past, and he is affluent too. So as you can see here, he can get away with a lot of shit that we can't get away with. And maybe
I've heard Lee Stewie is really into Julian. She thinks his music is sick. She loves his tattoos and piercings. She's really into like that aesthetic, like the kind of skinny fat white guy with tons of piercings.
Oh, really? Wow, I didn't know that about her. Well, anyways, here he is. Guess what Canadian politician's sons this is? And here he is, toting the AK. He's based. Yeah. He supports the Second Amendment. He likes guns.
We're getting the boys together, dude.
Yeah, get the boys together. Take some
I'm assembling a squad.
And then you go here. Well, he's got the machete
alone.
And I don't agree with this very inflammatory text that they put here. Andrea Horvath's son looks like the next school shooter.
He's just a creative type.
Yeah, he's a creative
type.
You wouldn't get it.
And
it's called art.
He can get away with shit that. So Shane over here, he allegedly throws some pebbles in, like, they're threatening him with 3 months in jail.
Prison.
Where he's going to get butt raped by that guy that we showed earlier.
I'm going to have to submit someone.
He's going to do some
I'm going to have to get, like,
he's going to do some
he's
going to do some Christian
charge just to not get butt raped.
Yeah.
It's going to be a massive escalation of.
Meanwhile,
it's just going to become hard, and I'm going to come out just an absolute problem.
Meanwhile,
I gave that man strength.
Yeah. And when I come by, might be late, won't lie. I was in 2 lanes, almost died on a short drive. Follow you right to the fucking coffin. Fuck the money, I've been taking losses.
So this song is called No DUI, based on the fact that he got in an under the influence car wreck, but he's flexing the fact that he got, as the title suggests, no DUI.
Shouldn't do this, yeah, I know better. Remember when I roll my car last December? Yeah.
Yo, Hamilton represented. Hamilton.
Wally, yeah, this is the old Jackson, like in Jackson Square, the old mall.
Yo, how does he walk in those jeans though? They're so low.
The flashlight, yeah, then they drove me home, no DUI.
What was that?
Up with the fly, roll my car like do this, yeah, I know better. Remember when I roll my car last December, yeah. Couldn't wake me up with the flashlight, yeah, then they drove me home, no DUI.
So he's getting in car wrecks, and they can't even wake him up with a flashlight. He's taking Xans, having seizures, and Andrea Horvath just makes one call and he gets off no charges.
Gotta love the based white privilege.
Boys need that, man. We need this kind of energy, bro. We need to get all Epstein up in this guy's business.
Dude, this is that based white privilege that all the black people are always talking about.
Yeah, man.
You're only a privileged white guy if you like are Hey Julian and have a politician as a mom.
Yeah. It's the only way you could get it. All right. Well, I think we've had a good time tonight. Shane looks like he's going. Okay, Shane, come back. We're gonna wrap it up.
What was that?
All right.
I gotta go to work tomorrow, you fucks.
Yeah.
I still gotta roughing a whole goddamn house.
Yeah. You gotta plunge a lot of shit tomorrow, don't you?
Yeah.
You gotta wrangle some turds.
Like he hasn't heard the shit jokes before.
I know. Every time it's like, oh, you fucking
like,
plunge into toilet. Yeah, that's plumbing.
toilets.
You fucking retard.
Yeah, I'm just jealous that I don't
You
get
goofy fuck that calls me because you can't unclog a toilet. You fucking retard. Like, bro, I got busier jobs than your fucking because you can't figure out a fucking toilet.
I was just going bare hands, like log.
Oh, my sink's clogged. Are you retarded? Figure it out, dude.
Oh, sorry, I flushed my giant dragon dildo down.
Dude, I just take a Cialis, I grab my dick, and I fuck the toilet unclogged.
Oh my god.
I think that's a good one to wrap it up on, right there.
Yeah. You know what? It doesn't get better than that.
Hey Julian song?
Yeah, let's just play the Hey Julian song out.
That's good.
Guys, once again in the YouTube chat, Shane's Give Send Go. I do see we got a donation there. Thank you so much for the person who donated.
Thank you to everybody who donated.
And
so much.
Keep it up. It's up there. He could use all the help he can get. He's a working man, and anything that could supplement it would be greatly appreciated. And thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. We had a great time. Thank you, Ferryman, for coming on.
Yes.
And let's enjoy our boy Julian. Let's just play the whole song.
07s.
07s to Julian. Chris Guy X Hey Julian.
Chris Guy for mayor.
Ticket. Yeah.
Pebbles 2025.
Diagolon. 2025. What's going on there?
You know, it's just a little yay drip, but yeah.
Okay.
You know, I can't. I'm not at liberty to discuss my.
Yeah.
You know,
but, keep it on the DL. I'll be scoping it out. I'll be looking for it.
But just like Chris Guy, you know, buy my merch. Go to the what is it
the grift shop? Go to the grift shop. Go to the grift shop. Buy some merch. Yeah.
And yeah.
All right. Take her easy, guys. Let's listen to some Hey Julian and let you guys out.
Yeah. And when I come by, might be late, won't lie. I was in 2 lanes, almost died on a short drive. Follow you right to the fucking coffin. Fuck the money, I've been taking losses. Shouldn't do this, yeah, I know better. Remember when I rolled my car last December? Yeah. Couldn't wake me up with the flashlight. Yeah, then they drove me home, no DUI. Double cup. Fuck me up. Ay. Double cup. I'm with this bitch, she won't suck me up. Yeah. Double cup. Fuck me up. Ay. Double cup. Ay. I'm with this bitch, she gon' suck me up. Yeah. Double cup, now we wavy. Had to break her off, but the shit had me lazy. I can't sip enough to shut my mind up lately. I've been popping Zans cause the shit had me shaky. Last year, 2 or 3 seizures, but I still been sipping at my leisure. Up north, drinking lean like some beer. Young Jugga, rookie of the year. Double cup. Fuck me up. Ay. Double cup. I'm with this bitch, she won't suck me up. Yeah. Double cup. Fuck me up. Ay. Double cup. Ay. I'm with this bitch, she gon' suck me up.
Nice. I'm the only one left. Have a good night, everybody.